and then I'll take on the rest of it.
Okay. Well, before I say anything, let's do call to order and have our committee roll call. So Ally Bean here, John Reimers is absent. Dr. Judy Goldman here. So I'm gonna take minutes. Julie Bean,
Here.
Lisa Redmond,
Here.
Dr. Naomi Nightingale chairing the meeting.
Here.
Pat Raphael, spelled correctly.
Here.
Here, and Sarah Maher.
Here.
Okay, great. And then we'll go to approval of prior minutes.
I am assuming that people received the minutes through email or.
They were on the, they were on
Okay, on-
supporting documents, yeah.
Okay, so
I didn't understand. Uh-oh.
Someone is not muted.
no, that's my
Oh, okay.
Alexa. Okay, so is there any questions or discussion about the minutes from the prior meeting? Hearing none. Approval of the prior meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
What is this thing in the middle of the screen that says
I'm having some difficulty. I was trying to get to the timer. That is my page. I'm trying to have difficulty. I don't know what happened. I don't.
Okay, we can just let me see.
I don't understand.
Yeah, that's your personal
because
computer screen, Lisa.
I do
here.
realize that.
Okay.
I'm trying to get out of it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get out of it. I don't.
Can you minimize?
I can try and do that, but
Yeah. Let's see if we can minimize and then maximize the page. Let's see now.
you could.
I mean, it's just like either way, you're still seeing my computer screen. I'm trying to get out of it, and the only way I know how to get out of it is just to get out of this Zoom.
I think you have to leave the Zoom and come back.
That's what I'm going to have to do. I just hope we don't ruin the Zoom meeting, but I did make Naomi a co-host. You'll have to let me back.
So I can see if we can just move forward from here and just come back in when you can, Lisa. Nope.
I don't know how to do that because if I leave, it's going to end the meeting for all.
Lisa, if you hit on the bottom, there's a little thing that says leave. All you have
Judy, for me, I do not have a leave. I have an end. If I hit end, it will shut down the meeting for all.
Oh.
So it doesn't say both. Leave and in.
No, it does not. I'm trying. I do not understand.
Okay, just take a deep breath. We're good. We'll figure it out. Okay. Jerry and one other person has their hand raised. I don't know.
Yeah, why don't you just go forward?
Jerry, you raise your hand. Is your hand raised? Who is Jerry? WS.
Jerry WS. Would you like me to call on him? Yes, he is.
I don't know who that
Sherry.
person.
I was just gonna say in the bottom you should be able to do stop screen share. And if not, if you want a timer, if you just Google in there, like timer, you can just pull up the timer right on there, and that could be a good solution to everything.
I appreciate all the information. I've done all that. I'm having difficulty. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. All right, so I can see I can see people on the right-hand side of the screen, but I can't get the,
Okay, I'm calling on Lydia to talk now because her hand was raised.
okay. I can't see. Okay, go ahead, Lydia.
Good evening, relatives. I think we can all jump off this call and start over. That's the simplest thing.
It is unable to do that because then we will need Steve to restart the meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad.
I'm not familiar with the settings that they have set up. I jumped into it too quickly.
I think something has just crashed in Lisa's computer. She probably needs to restart her computer. That's why those buttons aren't responding. You're minimizing and trying to X out and it's not doing anything.
I think Lydia's idea is excellent.
Yeah. Let's see if we click on the link for the Zoom meeting, that it will come back. And if not, we'll call Steve, okay? Let's do that. Everybody leave the meeting and we'll try to get back on.
Okay, bye for now.
Oh, never mind. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm able to just leave.
Oh, okay. I am the host now, it says. And there are 17 people on this call. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move forward and then hopefully Lisa can come back in. All right.
Where is Allie?
Allie's hand was raised, but she may have, let me see if she's on here.
She's not.
Can you see all 17 participants?
No.
Okay, so
I think Steve, is that you?
Yeah, the meeting is going on. The meeting never stopped.
We are aware. We lost Lisa and Allie somehow.
Okay.
and yeah, Lisa had something come up on the screen that she couldn't get rid of.
Right.
So it interfered with
Got it. So I need to make them hosts again, basically, is what you're saying. Let me reclaim my hosting here.
You just need to make Lisa and Naomi host.
Right, but I made myself host temporarily, and as soon as I'm looking for them in attendees, and when I see them, I was actually walking away from my computer, so your timing was good. Oh, there's Lisa. Okay, so let me promote to panelist. Okay. I don't understand what happened. It was a Firefox on somebody's what?
We don't know what happened. It's a mystery. It's a technology mystery.
Okay. So Lisa, make co-host for now. Okay. And here's Allie, promote to panelist. Just the two of them?
Yeah, so only the panel is showing up on the screen, right?
Yeah, so
Okay, all right.
Allie should be able to come on now. There you are, Allie. And Lisa, you there?
Yes, I am,
Yes,
Steve.
she's-
I was, this all became because I could not access your clock and my clock wasn't working. So I don't know how to access your clock. So you might as well open it up for us, please.
Sure. I mean, I think it's.
It asked me, when I clicked on the thing that said clock, it asked me to sign in and I could not sign in because I don't know how to sign in.
Got it. Okay, well, maybe then it's, I don't know. I mean, but I can let me turn the sound off.
And Lisa, also Jonah is now here, he said. He just texted me.
So Lisa, can you, I opened the clock on my computer. Do you see it at all? You don't.
Hold on, I'm trying to let Jonah in. I do not see how Jonah is here. As Jonah is call-in user, I do not know.
I'll ask him.
I have a question.
Yes, Judy?
Somebody sent me a question for the committee, to ask because they can't be here. So is it okay? Is it technically okay for me to ask a question on behalf of a constituent?
I'm not the parliamentarian. I don't know. I would defer
Who knows if that's okay?
others who know better. I mean, listen, to me, this is all about having the community voice heard. So I would go fine, but I'm going to defer to people who maybe seem to know the
I'm
rules.
okay either way. I'm happy to do it, but I
know. I'm just saying I'm not the authority to tell you.
Do you want to do it as a part of your presentation as a committee member, as a part of your speaking, or otherwise, I don't know how you would do that unless you did it as a part of public speaking, but then it's you speaking.
Well, all I know is I got a text saying, would you please ask this question? I can't be there.
I don't know.
If you want to use your question as that question, then that would be fine, but you can't answer for everyone.
Okay, so let me just get back to this, and I can jump back off again.
Okay,
I need to go in the shower. I forgot to go take a shower, please. Lisa, you're the host. I don't know whether you'll be able to see the app.
I do not see an app.
You don't see an app. Okay.
I don't see a clock.
Okay, so I think what you're going to have to do, this is webinars are run a little bit differently than meetings. So I think what you're probably going to have to do is time it on your phone and call out the time, as opposed to having something.
Yeah, if you have a timer on your phone, you can put it on.
That's unfortunate because we wanted people to see their time.
I understand it's not ideal, but I don't know what other.
What, you can't open up the clock that you said is on part of your app?
It's open right now.
You can't see it. So here's what we'll do. I have a timer on my phone. I will set it each time someone wants to speak. And when the minute is up or whatever time we allow them to do,
you can hold it up if you want to the screen.
I can just say, I can say your time is up. So, and give them a couple of more seconds to complete. So we don't need to spend any more time on that. Okay. And in other meetings that I've attended or chaired, if questions were sent to the chair could ask the question on behalf of the community, but I don't know that that works this way with this committee, or that another council person or member of the board for meetings that I've attended to could ask the question on behalf of a committee member. That's not the way it worked for places that I've been before. So, but the chairperson could say, I received these questions in the mail or through the email, and here's a question that I received. So that's been appropriate.
Okay. So Judy, you could send it to me.
I'll do it right now.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so
I sent a lot of emails already to Jonah that I received from the public.
So I'm gonna just if I just may, Lisa, you're the host. You can make anybody you want co-host if you like. I'm gonna jump off. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a good meeting.
So I'm going to say welcome again, everybody. And I'm so sorry. I'm still COVID foggy. So Dr. Nightingale has graciously agreed to take over chairing the meeting, and Lisa Redmond has graciously agreed to run the Zoom. I'm very grateful to you both. So we've already taken the roll call, and now we'll go to general public comment. And Dr. Nightingale, it's yours. Thank you so much.
First we do the ex parte. Has there been, does anyone have any ex parte to state in reference to discussions or interactions that you need to make the committee aware of? Allie?
Nope.
John? Oh, he's not there. Dr. Goldman?
No.
Julie?
No.
Lisa?
No.
Naomi? No. Pat Raphael?
None.
Sarah?
Nope.
Okay. And now we go to the chair report and welcome. I think we've done the welcome. Welcome everyone to the homelessness meeting. I have been asked to chair the meeting for Allie this evening. She's recovering, but of course she's here, and any comments or things that she would like to say, she's available to do that. And so we're now moving into general public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Do we have anyone that wants to make any comment regarding matters not on the agenda? Raise your hand, and when I see your hand, if I see your hand, if I can, then Lisa will call on you. I see a hand up. I think it's Lydia. Is that you, Lydia?
Yes, go ahead, Lydia. When you're able to unmute.
We
Oh,
can,
I thought I did because it said unmute. That's weird. Good evening, relatives. I'm belong to a lot of different mutual aids across our city, let alone Southern California. Everyone is doing something about the SNAP benefits this Saturday, the 1st, all the way through until this insanity ends. And Venice is the only place I have not seen any kind of offering for anything. From Watts, South LA, all the way up to San Francisco. And they've coined the term SNAP Power because the community is coming out really in a beautiful way. We're going to be doing a beans and rice campaign, a very simple campaign to buy wholesale and provide families with at least that staple. But we do have mutual aid information. I'll be putting it tonight on Original Save Venice page. I'm really disappointed that, we're not pulling it together. And there are restaurants that are offering, if the people show their SNAP benefit card, they can get a free sandwich and a drink in all over LA, but not Venice. And I'm going to be calling upon every single one of you to help pursue some kind of meal for families, for working folk, for people who are not paid enough to make a living wage. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Can I comment to that super quick? Is that out of place?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No comments for public comment. Thank
okay.
you. Yeah. Anyone else hand raised? I don't see.
There is a Jerry Pullman.
Oh, I
Has his
see.
hand up.
Okay, yes.
Well,
Can you hear me?
yes.
So something was brought to my attention. There's been some complaints about with some of the unhoused people and housed people about abuse and that kind of stuff. And I heard a very troubling story yesterday about police that overextended their authority. And I don't even know where to go with it. So if anybody has some advice on what to do about that, I'd appreciate that.
I didn't understand the issue. I'm sorry.
Basically, the police did something that was maybe, I don't want to speak out of place, but possibly illegal, and it had a detrimental effect on one of our community members. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. And
Okay, we can talk after the meeting if you like.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I do not see any other hands raised.
Having not seen any other hands raised for public comment, we can move into presentations. LA County's 3rd District Supervisor Lindsay Harbeck's Housing and Homelessness Liaison, Jonah Glickman, is going to speak with us this evening. The topic of new procedures, policies, and performance metrics that the county will use for evaluation of homelessness services provided to Venice by our current provider. We'll also have public comment afterwards. And Jonah will be answering questions from participants at the meeting today. Jonah, welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone is doing okay out there. I really appreciate you all sending me questions in advance of this meeting. I will answer them to the best of my ability, but then happy to have a dialogue with you all about, again, the sort of place that we're in as it relates to the homeless services and housing in LA County. So I'm just pulling up here. So I have some of the questions that had come in. So I know that one of the main questions was around efficacy, and so I think as it relates to that, that's a challenge that we've had for a long time when it comes to measuring success. We currently have a database that's called the Homeless Management Information Systems, which is called HMIS. HMIS is where providers are required to submit their outcome data for their programs. So LASA created a series of dashboards to help track those metrics, which are related to the programs of interim housing, outreach, and time-limited subsidies, which are 24-month rental subsidies. So providers are required to enter that data into HMIS, where it is then pulled out, and so we can look program by program to see the efficacy of those programs. And so it's a challenge, though, because for the county, one thing that we work on is that the county departments also have their own databases. So DMH has a separate database that tracks their programs. And so we've been working at the county to try to consolidate those databases so that we can, see everything that's happening in one place, because right now we have to work with multiple different databases to be able to see the whole sum of what we're doing with a single person, because there are a lot of different departments that could be working with one person at a time. So the success rate is a challenge, though, because to take one example, being street outreach, that across the board I think it's about 1 in 5 make it into shelter, about 20% of those clients, and that's kind of average across the board. That's because there are limited shelter beds available in the first place. And so that's a success rate that is, I don't know if calling it a success rate is the right term, but it's an outcome of the program that's pretty consistent across all levels. And it's something that we're working on through Measure A, is to increase those outcomes. Measure A, which voters passed last year, has 5 key goals, which the first of which is moving folks off the street into permanent housing. And the second one of those goals is reducing substance use and mental illness on the streets. So these are goals that are really again, unifying our approach so that we're all trying to address the same goals. I think historically, we've been a little bit scattershot with our approach, and so this way, again, through Measure A, anything that's funded by Measure A at the county has to serve one of these 5 goals. I was trying to pull it up here so I could quote them exactly, but I can also send them around to folks, since there's also ones that relate to affordable housing construction and prevention, because we also have to make sure that we're preventing people from falling into homelessness at the same time that we're helping get folks off the street, because unfortunately there are people falling into homelessness every day. So but yeah, so those 5 goals are the metrics that we're trying to hold people to. So again, it's increasing people moving from encampments into permanent housing, reducing the number of people with mental illness and or substance use disorder who experience homelessness, increase the number of people permanently leaving homelessness, preventing people from falling into it, and then increasing the number of affordable housing units in LA County. So those are the 5 goals that were established by Measure A. And so our whole system is really trying to focus in on just those 5 goals. And so everything that we're funding, we're trying to look at how it is successful at achieving one of those goals. And if it's not successful in doing that, then we have to have conversations about, are we going to continue funding that? So outreach is an example of, is outreach really helping people get off of the street into housing, or do we need to fund more beds or more time-limited subsidies, because that's actually what gets people off of the street and keeps them off the street. So we're currently going through that budget process right now. I spoke about this a few months ago when we talked, and There's going to be another public webinar coming up on November 12th or 13th, which I would share the information with everybody from the public, because that's where they're going to announce the funding plan for next year. So we're already talking about the funding plan for next July, because we're trying to plan and get ahead of this. So those are the outcomes that we're measuring. We're tracking those outcomes again through HMIS. And I think, again, like, we have to have that conversation about, if we're going to continue funding programs that don't meet those 5 key goals. And so that is an incredibly important discussion that's happening right now. I will also step back for just 1 second, just to say that, the county, as I've spoken about before, and, to those who don't know me, Jonah, I work for Supervisor Horvath. And so on the housing and homelessness side, the supervisor has led the creation of the Department of Homeless Services and Housing. So this department will officially launch as of January 1st of next year. So that's going to bring together the work of the CEO Homeless Initiative and Housing for Health, which are 2 separate branches of the county that have been working on homelessness. We're consolidating those into a department for the first time. The county has never had a department that is dedicated to addressing homelessness. And so that department's going to launch on January 1st. On July 1st of next year, all of the money that the county has been putting into LAHSA, we will be administering at the county level as of July 1st of next year. So these efforts are also underway. So, just wanted to give a little bit of a universal backdrop in terms of where we are. So we're a couple months away from the internal launch of the department, and then we're about 8 months out from the transition of LAHSA programs to the county. And again, that's only for county funded programs. So I know that the LAHSA receives funding from the city of Los Angeles, from the state, and from the federal government. And so those funding sources are not being impacted, since the county doesn't control that funding. But we are making that move with the funding that we have oversight of. So
Jonah,
sorry,
just for clarification, from the 3 funding sources, city, county, and state, the county is pulling out their portion of that funding contribution that they were making before. And that's what will go towards the development of these programs effective January 1 and effective July.
So yes, and so the homeless initiative at the county, they've already been overseeing Measure H. So Measure H was being overseen by the homeless initiative. And so they've already been doing a lot of this work. And then Housing for Health has also been doing a lot of programs and has other funding sources that are outside of Measure A and outside of LAHSA. So they've also been running programs like enriched residential care, which is more like a board and care for folks who have higher needs. They also are running what we call the Flexible Housing Subsidy Pool, which is a public-private partnership that provides permanent housing subsidies. So it's kind of like a locally funded Section 8. So that's going to transition to the new department. They also run programs through Medi-Cal. So one thing that LAHSA, would never be able to do is to become a Medi-Cal billing agency. And so that's something the new department is working towards as well, since a lot of the services that are out there can be billed to health insurance. And so we need to also be working towards billing as much as we can towards healthcare, so that we can stretch the dollar further. So that the Medi-Cal will take a little bit longer, since it's really hard to work with the health plans, but that's also something the new department is working towards.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. Should we? I don't know how many
I have
questions.
a couple more. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, depending on how many questions you have, do we want to just let you finish the questions and then we have public comment, and then the committee members get to ask their questions in reference to the responses or statements that you've just made?
I think Jonah has some more things to say.
No, I was saying that I didn't know how many more he had and whether we should just listen to the rest of them or how we should break this up. But if you only have like a couple of more questions, we'll just listen to all the ones that you have, and then the committee members can address whichever ones they want to talk about. Go ahead, Jonah. I was just trying to.
I have a couple more, and then I think I
Yeah.
saw one come in, and my computer was updating, so I'm on my phone, so I don't know if someone texted me one. So I'll go through the couple that I have on email that I had written down, that I had written down.
That's a new
and
word.
so we can, right? I know. I'll go through those. If there's some that I missed, I'm happy to do more afterwards. But I'm just going to go through what I have here. So again, the St. Joseph's one. Again, I know that it's kind of it's hard to draw an exact answer, because again, like tracking outcomes has been a challenge that the supervisors talked about a lot. It's part of why we want to bring things in-house at the county, so we can better track what's happening across all of our county departments, because St. Joseph's might be working with the same person that DMH is working with, or that the city is working with, or another program through our law enforcement partnerships. And so like we're trying to make sure that we're deduplicating, because sometimes there are I'm not joking that we have some encampments where there would be 4 or 5 different outreach teams visiting the same encampment. And so is that the best use of our resources? So and then it's the other thing too that I also one example I use often is how do you track success? Because if I'm an outreach worker and I find somebody and I move that person into a shelter, and then from that shelter, that person moves into an apartment, does the outreach worker get credit for the apartment building, or does the shelter? Because without the outreach worker, that person's never in the shelter in the first place. So, and then for the shelter, if they're they get credit for the permanent housing, but then the outreach worker is like, hey, wait, I spent 2 years working with this guy to get him to the shelter, but I don't get any credit for that person getting permanently housed. So like measuring success is a real challenge, because it's sort of we all play a part in getting somebody stably housed. So these are the kind of conversations that are happening at at the county level, through other tables that exist with the elected leaders and service providers, where people are trying to figure out like how do we really track the success rate of and what program is the one that is the most successful here. So another one that I saw, which I've also gotten this question a lot over the last 3 years, is about the amount of unhoused people that are in Venice that aren't from Los Angeles County. And so I do have a study which I'll share. And again, sorry, because my screen changed, so it gets bright. But there was a study done by RAND that is called LA Leads, LEADS. So LA Leads, and I'll send this out over email. And this was you probably may have seen this already, where it was a study specifically of Skid Row, Hollywood, and Venice. So this was getting much more granular than the homeless count done every January, to basically drill down into far more details about those specific areas. And so this is a study that they've been doing for the past few years. They just did another release of their data earlier this summer. And it's interesting because they just have a lot more flexibility to really get into the granular data. And so I'm just scrolling through it here because I found this was in their 2023 annual report. So I will send this, and I unfortunately didn't have time to check the more recent ones, but from the 2023 report, which again was a longitudinal study talking to folks in those 3 different areas. I think in Venice, they only talked to about 50 people just to do a really targeted survey of those 50 people. And their survey showed that about 40% of those individuals, when they were last housed outside of California. So that's about 41%, which was higher than in Skid Row. That number was 28%. In Hollywood, it was 26%. So the Venice population was, again, about 40% of folks were from outside of California, and about 46%. So about half of the unhoused people, which again this is only a survey of 46 people. So I know that's not it's not thousands of people they interviewed, but they showed about half were last housed in Los Angeles County. So that, and I'll send this RAND study so you all have it, because it's a public study that came out a couple of years ago, and it has a lot of interesting data about the population in those 3 areas, and I think a lot of folks here might be interested in it. So again, I know that that speaks to what a lot of folks and myself and we all know is the change in, you know, where folks are coming from. So that is also led to another strategy that we've been employing, which is getting folks reconnected to home. So you know, that is something that we call problem solving, or which is kind of a general term for family reunification. So if somebody has a family member in another part of the country or the world, and we can verify that that's true, then we will get that person back home. And so that's something that the city, the county, and even state funds are used towards doing that. Um, it's not a huge line item in the budget, I'll be honest, but it is something that we do. Like it is a strategy that we've been employing more, as we've seen, you know, less resources coming through. There's not a lot of beds available. There's not a lot of housing subsidies or housing vouchers available. So problem solving has become a very important tool in the toolbox. So that is something that's happening. Santa Monica does it. We support, you know, West Coast Care, which also does that for folks on the beaches. A lot of organizations are encouraging people to do that because, you know, family is also can be somebody's community, and can help be a stabilizing force in someone's life. So, you know, and again, I know that is something that I can check back in on more data. I see also that's in the question I got about, like, you know, how successful we are at it. But I do know that, you know, we work with West Coast Care, that, you know, at least a couple hundred folks a year, they get back home from specifically the beaches of Santa Monica and Venice. And you know, we want to help expand their services to Venice, since we do see a lot of people from the area that are outside of LA County. So, but that's again, the RAND study is called LA Leads. And I'll share it around so it can be distributed to the community, or to the committee, as well as the community.
Jonah, can I interject as someone who works intimately on the LEAD study? We go and do about two survey visits in each area, and we total and talk to about 125 people in each area are surveyed.
Yeah, for some reason, Lisa, I don't know why the N in this particular one for Venice was 46, but I know that you like do a much more comprehensive and more regular surveying than LASA does. And I mean, if you want to speak about it more, please do, because I think it's a really interesting model that you employ.
No, I just wanted to correct to say that we do speak to a lot more than 46 people.
Okay.
I'm not.
I
here to talk
apologize.
on the
I
study,
mean
but
more
that's
the
okay.
No. I very much appreciate that. I'm sorry, it's been a very long day. Yeah, I just only wanted to say that when it came to the detailed demographic survey and that number specifically around inside and outside of California, but I should have stated that you all talk to many more folks throughout the year. Which again, instead of doing a point in time count, like as Lisa was mentioning, it's throughout the year, which I think is a really important difference.
Thank you.
So again, I also know that there was a question about the ECRC that you had sent over. So the ECRC is the county's emergency centralized response center. It is a outreach coordination hub that we're creating at the county. The supervisor authored a motion in September of last year to create the ECRC. It is a team of county staff that are helping to coordinate outreach teams, and responding to LA HOP requests, and then helping coordinate encampment cleanups and supporting council districts in small cities, as well as helping coordinate multi-jurisdictional cleanups. You know, as an example, they've been working with CD11 in the area around the Bologna wetlands and helping coordinate the various government agencies that are involved out there. They helped us during the wildfires, get folks out of the area impacted by the Palisades fire. They work with, you know, a lot of different outreach teams to try to find resources for their clients. And so the ECRC's main sort of goal is to help streamline access to county services for unsheltered people. So if an outreach team has a by name list of people they're working with, the ECRC can look through the by name list of every person they're working with and identify who is eligible for DMH or housing for health or beds that we have all across the county. And they can help outreach teams try to connect their clients to those beds. Many of those beds are not in SPA 5, so that's always something that we're working on in terms of convincing people to take the beds. But their goal is, again, to streamline access to the county services, to make, to help folks get on GR, to help folks get connected to DMH or to housing for health. If folks do want a treatment bed through SAPC, which is the Substance Abuse and Prevention Control Bureau at the county, they can also help. So what makes the ECRC special is that it's a physical space at the Hall of Records. Like, they have a whole office where every county department is sitting in a row, and they can all instantly go and talk to each other instead of sending emails and waiting for phone calls. They can actually go to the person sitting next to them who is there from DMH and make sure that that person is connected to DMH. So instead of, like, before it was sending emails out into the void and hoping it comes back, now we can help outreach teams, and we have dedicated staff from all county departments that have an interim housing portfolio, as well as LASA. And the city of LA is also we're trying to get the city of LA more involved as well, so we can help better coordinate around their Care Plus operations, and the CAO RV operations if they need help identifying county resources for folks. That's really our current focus. We're inviting the city and more entities to participate. But the ECRC, can only be scaled as much as other organizations participate. And then we are also taking over the LA HOP system from LASA and regional outreach coordination. So a lot of that work that had been done at LASA is being brought into the ECRC, where we can, again, have better visibility of what's at the county. And so the supervisor introduced a motion a year ago, and it's already up and running and has staff and is doing the work. So we're glad to have turned that around in just a year, but we have a lot of work to do and to keep scaling it to where it needs to be. So that's a quick blurb on the ECRC, and I think I talked about it last time as well, but we just now taking over LA HOP, and it's been a couple months of that. And I think the important thing there is that we've been seeing that a lot of the requests that come in are duplicative. So instead of sending a team out from scratch, we can actually already identify that there's a team already working with that encampment, and we can not duplicate. Because again, right now we have to make sure that we are being really using the resources more efficiently, and we can't just be sending a bunch of outreach teams to the same person or the same encampment. So that's a big effort the ECRC is undertaking. Let's see, there was also unfortunately I see the question here about the Santa Monica project. That one there's supervisors issued statements on, and I can't really speak much more on that than what's been provided publicly by the supervisor. But the other question I see here on the coordination between St. Joseph Center and Venice Family Clinic. So the mobile medical unit serves Venice. They go to the Rose parking lot. They go all over the community to connect with people. They visit large encampments, and they're a mobile medical team. So they'll really go wherever people are. And so as I know St. Joseph's is one of the outreach teams, so they coordinate. But I wouldn't say that it's connected to the CES. They are, again, a health clinic. So they're happy to work on folks' health, but they're not really the ones entering the interim housing referrals themselves. But they're an incredibly important part of what we do, but they're not really part of the CES. I hope that answers that question okay. And then, sorry, Allie, I'm looking through something else you had sent. I just want to make sure I get all your questions. But
one of the questions about the Venice Clinic was, do they do mental health outreach as well as medical?
They do. So they are able to do, more mental health outreach and treatment. But if somebody is gravely disabled and has to be on a 5150, then that is still typically led by DMH, but Venice Family Clinic is able to do behavioral health services, and USC Street Medicine is another example that they can do medicated assisted treatment on the streets, even though they're not DMH. So that the street medicine, I think, is a really there's a lot of good work happening in street medicine that I think we have to keep scaling.
I see your hand, Judy, but Jonah, did you have that was the end of your presentation? Oh, he's gone.
No, sorry, I was just taking a drink of water. That is the questions I had in front of me, but if there's other, I'm now happy to answer questions from the committee and then the public.
Absolutely. So, Lisa, I see Judy's hand up. So, Judy, you want to ask your
Can I just
question?
ask a point of order? Lisa, do we not have to go to the public before the committee for questions? I thought that was the order we had to go in to ask questions to Jonah. Lisa, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that. There's one question that came up in the chat. Jonah, you did mention the 5 key goals in
No, but Lisa, my
county?
question is, do we go to public?
Yes, and I'm saying there was a question from the public in the chat function.
Oh, yeah,
where Jonah did mention the 5 key goals, and you didn't say what those 5 key goals are. And someone is asking if you could share what those are, Jonah.
Yes,
So
I will.
Public comment now after,
Okay,
if
I'll
he's
wait,
finished, if you're finished with your questions. And then I see Judy's hand is up. So go ahead, Jonah.
Okay, sorry about that. So I read them off a little bit earlier, but I'll read them off again. And I can there's a link as well to just the facts about Measure A. But again, so goal number 1 of Measure A is to increase the number of people moving from encampments into permanent housing. Number 2 is to reduce the number of people with mental illness and/or substance use disorder who experience homelessness. Number 3 is to increase the number of people permanently leaving homelessness. So that's like housing retention, sort of the best way I could describe it. And then numbers 4 and 5 are sort of, these are not really in the homelessness space, but more about preventing people from falling into homelessness. And then goal 5 is to increase the number of affordable housing units countywide. And so that is part of the work of the Affordable Housing Solutions Agency, or La Casa, which is, I talked about this last time a little bit about, that is the agency that gets a percentage of Measure A funding specifically to build affordable housing and to provide rental assistance and tenant protections to make sure that is more focused on goals 4 and 5. And then I would say, like, the sort of, the homelessness system, as a lot of folks have talked about, like, that's more focused on goals 1, 2, and 3. And they actually, a set of sort of some of the goals have been set by folks who work on the it's called the Executive Committee of Regional Homeless Alignment, which is made up of elected officials from all across the county. And so they set goals, but they're very aspirational, frankly, but they're aspirational goals that I'll also share. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But again, like, the goal, the main goal is to to continue making the progress we've been making, which is going to be challenging with the current sort of challenges that we're facing in the system. So, but again, happy to hear more thoughts and gather feedback from everybody here.
Any other public comment regarding?
Yes, we have Daryl DeFay's hand is up. Daryl, I'm going to unmute you.
The reason that Judy's hand was up is that she has a client at 7. She has a patient, so.
I was going to call on her, but then
But that's what she was gonna
Yeah.
say. There's Daryl DeFay.
Daryl, do you want to make your comment or ask your question? And then I will make the exception for Judy to make her statement after Daryl makes his.
That's okay. I'll wait for him.
Yeah, Daryl, can you unmute yourself? Or Lisa, can you unmute him from where
I
you
did
are?
unmute him.
Okay, I
does
just
that work
saw
now?
it. I just
He
saw
is
it.
unmuted.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I got there in 2 steps. How wonderful. I've been following the count for 6 years. 3 years ago, I noticed that there was 3 places that they wanted to look into: Skid Row, Venice, and Hollywood. For the last 3 years, the data, there is supposed to be community data. The community data comes from the federal, using the federal census tracts. I have tried for 3 years, talk to everybody I can. Why did they do away with the community data? There is, in Venice, we don't know how many counts there are, how many people there are, because they didn't print it. You go anyplace else. How can you deal with the homeless if you don't know how many there are and where they're located? And the better part about it is that the community then look around, because they're census tracts, and you could used to look at a census tract and get the data from each census tract. We have 11 of them in Venice. You can then you can, from a point of view of having some knowledge, ask the questions. We can't ask the questions. And I brought it to a number of people's attention.
Mr. Dufay, your time is up, but I'll give you a few more seconds to wrap it up, please.
Okay. What I would like to know, why we cannot have community data like we used to. That's it. Because we found 1,000 people missing 3 years ago in one of the census tract data. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Judy, quickly, please.
Jonah was trying to answer Naomi and he's muted. Jonah,
I know Judy has to go. I want her to get her questions in.
Okay, I'll be very, very quick. And I apologize. I had work scheduled before the meeting got changed to tonight, so I do have to leave in a couple minutes. But
okay.
My question is related to St. Joseph's Center. So for decades, residents across the spectrum in Venice have raised concerns about St. Joseph's limited transparency, limited engagement, and limited responsiveness to the community. The recent Santa Monica project that was conducted with really almost no public input has really deepened those concerns. So my question is, what mechanisms does the county have, or will you be putting in place for evaluating providers with a history of community distrust? And how can local stakeholders take part in that evaluation? And in the selection also of any new or supplemental providers if they are added?
Those are questions that you want him to ponder and get back to you on those questions?
No, I'm asking him right now.
Okay, so let me ask, have we chosen a process for choosing other providers for LAHSA?
So,
I mean, instead of St. Joseph, that's what, but I'm not telling you not to ask the question, but yeah.
No, that's okay. I know that was a question that came in also, that I'm sorry I didn't address earlier. So we don't have the, again, I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer this, because the mechanism of moving programs from LAHSA to the county LASA is not administering a lot of direct programs themselves. So it does mean that we have to get providers over to county contracts. And so there is a process of doing that. And I think there may have to be open solicitations. I don't have all the details, but like I mentioned, that's not coming until July. So some of this is probably going to come in the early of next year. But when we're selecting providers, it's, just like with any other entity where you have to go to open solicitation and do a request for proposals and have folks submit their proposals for consideration in an open solicitation process through an RFP. Historically, I don't think that that has been a part of past RFPs when it comes to those kinds of things. But I do think you raise interesting questions about the sort of the SPA leads and how providers are sort of identified by SPA. But I don't have all the answers for you, Judy, but I was writing down all your questions because I want to make sure that I get back to you with answers. And again, I think a lot of this is still.
There was one thing that was left out. My question is twofold. One is, what mechanisms does the county have or will you have for evaluating providers who have a history of community distrust? And how will the local stakeholders, or will the local stakeholders be able to take part in the evaluation and in this RFP selection process that you're talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, for community distrust, I'm not sure if that's been incorporated in the past, but like we're going to hold people accountable for things like fraud, waste, and abuse. So if organizations have not been good stewards of public funding, that's something that we're going to take into account. I don't think that, again, across many programs, that I don't think that that specifically as you relate to community input and engagement, I will say I don't know if to the extent that that's been done before. But it is an interesting question. I don't know if we have the mechanisms specifically for that, but we do have mechanisms for vetting organizations to make sure that they have a strong track record. And then we also have strong contract oversight at the county. So I know LASA has done things differently, but at the county, we have very consistent contract oversight. So we're making sure that we're checking every invoice that providers are sending in and making sure that they're doing the work that they're contracted to do. So the way we monitor contracts is stronger, and we want to make sure that we're having providers that have, because again, we've all seen the stories, and we don't want to be, again, with certain providers or the Project Home Key, where funds were not spent, on in the way that they were saying they were spending them. Like, those are the kind of things that we are going to make sure that we're doing a better job of at the county, because when the supervisor called for an audit of LASA, like, these are some of the things that it uncovered that we're trying to correct for at the county department.
I think the core of my question has to do with transparency to the community and what the community involvement is going to be in the evaluation process and in the ongoing selection, and what kind of transparency is going to be required of the providers, and what kind of engagement is going to be required with the broader community, because the real issue here is that that's been lacking. And what happened in Santa Monica recently is an example of that.
Yeah, I think that's a hard question to answer because it varies by funding source. So one of the things that, the Santa Monica projects were a state funding source that didn't, again, like that didn't speak to community engagement. Prop 1 is a different funding source that which is going to be providing funding for treatment beds across the county. And so Prop 1 comes with community engagement because it's a capital funding source. So that means it's infrastructure dollars to build more projects, like Claire Matrix in Santa Monica is going to, got a large award for treatment beds. We're building treatment beds that, again, through Prop 1, it comes with community engagement. And so another example where it's challenging though for us, when a provider is building shelters.
What is the obligation of a place like St. Joseph's to the community to have some kind of community engagement and transparency? That's really the issue I'm asking about.
Well, and that's what I was explaining, is that in the state funding source, like, the funding source doesn't obligate them. And in many instances, that's the case. So it's
Fiona,
incumbent
can I
on all
say
of us to
something?
develop that.
Just because
So
the state doesn't obligate them in their contractual language, does that mean that the county, who is going to be the overseer, can't obligate them in some way?
of course, no, of
Okay,
course.
so
I'm just
so I
giving
think
background
that's what
and yeah,
Judy's looking for, to see that there is some kind of resource or some kind of entity involved to ensure that there is that kind of accountability, transparency, and
yeah.
to ensure that the community is served in the way in which it is supposed to be served. And if it is not, then what are the actions and consequences that the community can expect to happen to
Of course.
ensure that their needs are met? I
Of
think
course.
that's where we are. Okay,
And
so
that's what we're trying to develop because it hasn't been standardized in any fashion. There hasn't been. But one there's challenges there because we have organizations that serve vulnerable populations. And so we just have to be careful about how we in some of these instances. So it's just something that we are we are having to all have conversations about, making sure community is involved in these decisions, but while also acting with the urgency that every community is demanding from us, because we need to bring resources online as quickly as possible, and we don't want to leave, anybody in the dark on that. But again, your question in terms of the mechanisms we have, like those are things that we're discussing because again, it varies. I know that that's maybe not the answer you're looking for, but there is not something consistent. And I know that there are many instances when I worked at the city where projects would happen and they would not notify people. So I worked in the San Fernando Valley, so I'm not speaking about Venice, but there are also instances where we are building shelter for survivors of domestic violence. And so we don't want to tell the surrounding community that there's people there, that there may be other people in that community that
So
that
I would,
I
shouldn't
think
know
that's the
that
kind
that's
of
there.
thing
So,
that
and
we're
like,
talking about. And I think that we need to probably, I mean, I think the questions are good and we need to continue the conversation, Jonah, but we're not
I'd love
talking
to
to,
continue the
yeah.
conversation. No, because I do want to say that one thing that I want to hear from you all, and I know Judy, you have to go, but really hearing about like, in that community engagement, like what things and what aspects of projects and programs that you all want to see in these kinds of things, because again, like there are, I would love to hear more about like the things that you all
okay, I
want
can be
included in that process. So
very
yeah,
specific.
We have to move on.
We,
It's
we,
I can move on. What we were asking is that there be regular, ongoing information and engagement and conversation. We have been dealing with a wall of silence.
Thank you. I think that puts it in a very succinct kind of
that's
way in terms of
yeah.
what responsiveness and what transparency is needed, not to give up confidential information or to provide something that would put people in vulnerable positions. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a process of communication in place that answers the basic questions about the who, what, where, when, and how. And as far as LASA has been concerned, month after month, year after year, we have been denied access to information, transparency, not knowing from anything what was going on from there. So we
Absolutely.
understand.
And
We understand
I
the
just want to say
question.
too, yeah. No, and I really hear you because look, at the same time we need to provide there's, tens of thousands of people sleeping on the street every single night, and we have to provide solutions, and that's going to require solutions in every community of Los Angeles. And so we have to do it in partnership with community rather than make it feel like we're keeping you in the dark. So I hear you, Judy. I think there's going to be more conversations around that, but I do want to say that it has to be a conversation with every community, and it cannot be, like you mentioned, the wall of silence, because that obviously is not a sustainable model. So I appreciate your comments though, because again, it's an important discussion that has to happen because we are going to have them as we bring more resources to the county. Because just letting you all know, like there will be projects with treatment beds, with mental health beds, which are, again, critically needed to address the crisis. And so those beds will have to be somewhere. And so because we want to make sure that we're talking with those communities about where those beds will be, so that we can do it in partnership. But I do want to stress that this is a regional crisis that will require You know, these kinds of beds, like with, you know, again, I see the comments around the need for substance use, mental health treatment beds. We have to find locations where those beds can go, so that we can address the crisis meaningfully. So
Understood. And you
yeah.
guys, you're going to have to move on to the next question. We still have some people that want to make public comment. It's an ongoing discussion. Thank you, Jonah, for what you've given us thus far. Judy, thank you for the excellent questions. Definitely we'll be pursuing more answers and more in-depth involvement in how the community can ensure that the kind of participation and interaction that we're looking for is done, and through the county offices and through other entities that may also be involved. So thank you both. Thank you, Judy, for your question, and thank you, Jonah, for the answers that you've given us thus far. And so I see that there's other people that have their names up, their hands up. So let's just move through that process.
Next is Nick.
Nick, you have 1 minute. I mean, yeah, 1 minute.
Has
Oh.
Joan left the meeting?
No, this is I'm here, Nick. My phone died. I just logged back in on my computer.
All right. It just sounds like you're rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. Why can't we get simple information like what's the year-over-year number of people who are homeless in Venice? You haven't addressed the Washington Boulevard situation at all. Has LASA been abolished, or what's the status of LASA now? It didn't sound like it was abolished. It sounds like it's still around. It's very disappointing. Much of the things you're talking about tonight, I don't know how it takes this long to come up with goals and objectives. The goals and objectives, if you can't even come up with goals and objectives, how can anyone have any confidence you'll get anything done? And it's just incredibly disappointing, the amount of money that's been wasted. And here we are again, rearranging the chairs on the Titanic with really no solutions and nothing that breeds any confidence in anyone who lives in Venice when it comes to the issue of homelessness.
Nick, thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
Next is Lydia.
Does Jonah want to answer that, or?
No,
It's public comment, so
it's public
Yeah.
comment. Yeah, so.
Well, I want to thank you, Jonah, for being here. And I don't see you as being the source with all the answers to our questions, but I do know I want to uplift what Judy Goldman is saying, because last month's homeless committee meeting, I raised the question in regards to why can't there be a community oversight now that there's a divide between city and county services for housing people. And, you know, to put the human voice or face to this, we know all of us can tell or share a story about St. Joseph's improprieties and cruelty, and how often I've heard that they're celebrating 50 years of housing people, when we know people that were harmed by St. Joseph's by not showing up for their court date because they stopped paying their 80%, 70% of the rent, and people were court ordered for eviction. So I want to ask if there's any consideration for potentially a community oversight committee and what
Lydia?
that would look like. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next.
There is anyone else, but I thought Lydia asked a question there at the end.
I did.
Did you? I'm sorry, Lydia, I cut you off.
Community oversight, like how can we develop community oversight that we can engage in shaping some of these deliverables when we give nonprofits funding?
Okay, now I'm hearing you, Lisa, saying that Lydia asked a question, but are we doing responses to public comment?
This is, I believe, a Q&A time. People can use, like Nick did, choose it to just make a statement, or they can use it to, I thought the agenda said that it's public
I thought it
questions.
was Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Q&A.
I just want to make sure I give everyone time to give their comments.
Okay, all right. That's fine. So Lydia's question, Jonah? Lydia, you want
Yeah,
to
so
repeat it?
on the, again, on the community oversight committee, sorry, I wasn't sure if that was a question for the neighborhood council. For the county, I want to take that back to folks. I don't know if there's a dedicated community oversight committee. There are a lot of different places though where these conversations are being had, and again, still at LASA, as Nick pointed out, like LASA does still exist. But let me think more about that because again, like we're still going through
Right.
this transition right now. So I want to be transparent that I don't have the answers for you.
So the little sesame seed of encouragement and inspiration from our community is that unhoused people are people and there are residents here. Thank you
Yes.
for that honest answer. I appreciate it. But take
Yeah,
it
and
with you and let them know that we're very, very happy to participate in oversight.
I should have said at first of that like unhoused people and people who have gone through the programs and like their feedback is incredibly important too because we have to listen to the people who have been failed by these programs, frankly, if we're going to make them better. So I strongly agree with that, and I think that those voices need to be at the table as much as possible. And we've been doing that, but I think we can always do more. I also want to speak to a question that came up from one of the previous commenters. I actually was able to pull census tract data for the homeless count. So I'm going to email that over because I don't know the Venice census tracts, but it looks like it's a data subset of a couple thousand census tracts. So I can email that over to the group since I did find that on Loss's website. So I think this is the sense again, like I think this is the raw data for the homeless count of 2025. So I want to send that over.
And I'll post that on our website, Daryl.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
thank you.
then also yeah, to Nick's point, I think I had shared some numbers last time about the year over year numbers, and I think that the comment about Venice in particular is correct that they don't release the numbers by community anymore. So it is difficult for me to say here are the last 3 year totals for Venice. So that is totally heard. There's the year over year state sort of stated numbers that are for the overall county. But I do think we need to drill down more into the specifics, which is, again, what the RAND study is doing with the LA leads. And so that we can show that year by year with community in a much easier sense. Also to your comment that LASA still does receive city, state, and federal dollars, although, we don't know the future of the federal funding right now with the government still shut down. And then the city is considering different options how they want to proceed with contracting with LASA or doing something themselves. So LASA does still exist as the continuum of care, which is the HUD mandated program to receive federal funding. But that is the current status, but things may change as there are a lot of things changing right now. But and like I mentioned before, like we are doing what we control, which is the county's funding, and so that's the funding that we can pull out of LASA. So, but that is still a significant amount of funding. And then to your comment on Washington Boulevard, I do apologize that I didn't address that. It's an RV encampment that we're supporting CD11 in addressing. We've been trying to remove encampments from the Oxford Basin, which is actually technically in Supervisor Mitchell's district, but I've still been communicating with a lot of community members over there and, trying to support CD11 with their efforts. But it's something that I know their office would be able to speak far better to than me. But I will respond to your comment in saying that we're helping where we can. And sorry for not bringing it up.
Great. Good.
Next, we have Sean O'Brien.
Hey, Sean, you have 1 minute? I'll start when you.
Okay, are you there? Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, there's different buttons like people said. Horvath in the past has denied using the care court system that Newsom championed statewide. Will that be implemented next year? We do need a carrot and stick approach. Some people might need a little kick in the behind to actually get better. And what type of changes to regulating public space do you envision next year? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. So Care Court has been in place in LA County, so it is active. Unfortunately, it has not led to as many care plans as we thought. I will send numbers out, but it has been very few. One of the challenges with the Care Court program is that it remains a voluntary program. So it still requires the individual to work willingly with the judge and the court's team to get on that path. But it's not a mandatory program. So that's something that the supervisor has raised as a concern, because it has not led to the change that we were hoping for. In terms of changes to public space, the voters passing of Prop 36, as well as the January 1st implementation of SB 43, will change how law enforcement and DMH can approach substance use disorder and mental illness. It widens the criteria for grave disability to include severe substance use disorder, personal safety, and necessary medical care as 3 areas that did not previously exist in that definition. So that could lead to more people being placed on 5150 holds than before. There's still challenges with that rollout, but we are doing, a lot of work at the county to try to work with law enforcement partners and hospital systems and trying to figure out how that can help make a difference between those changes in state law, which also supplement care court. So and a lot of those beds that I was talking about earlier that are being built through Prop 1 are also supposed to help people that are going through the care court process. So those are a couple things, but I do want to stress that the care court program is still voluntary, and had the supervisor has spoken on that as a shortcoming of it, and it unfortunately hasn't led to the outcomes that we had hoped.
Thank you. Good questions.
I do not see any more raised hands, so this is your last chance if you want to address a question or make a comment to Jonah Glickman. Nope.
Okay, so then we will move to committee discussion. And we'll just start with Julie.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being here again, Jonah. I just don't understand. I mean, I know LASA's a big, I don't know if it's a corporation, but it just, if I stole from my business, I would be fired. So I just really don't understand how St. Joseph's and LASA can even have a role in anything when they've been so dishonest. And in my opinion, I probably shouldn't say this, but corrupt. And I mean, at some point, when are we going to keep them or hold them accountable for what they've done to the people they were supposed to have been serving and the people in the community that are trying to help support the people that they've left behind? It's more of just a statement, I guess. And that's it.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And again, I hate to be a broken record on it, but it is that, the supervisors are only able to make decisions about county funding. So we are making the decisions about the county funding, and I can't speak for the city or the state. But you know, again, we're trying to do what we can, and as it relates to LASA, and then, you know, again, the feedback on providers is very helpful. And if there are, you know, more stories of people or things that I'm happy to talk about offline, like, and, you know, with you as well, Julie, about like individuals that you have seen or worked with. And so I'm happy to keep talking about that. So, but I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Pat?
Yes. All right. I am on the boardwalk. I gotta first say this first. If there's any issues hearing me, please speak up. But Jonah, what I've been hearing that, like when you talked about the 20% success rate, that was again an issue of the infrastructure was not really there to meet the demand, right? So having that in mind, and then understanding that the operation that is now coming into your hand was because it was not meeting the needs of what was happening, and then it wasn't efficiently being spent. So my question, to kind of, you know, agree with Nick, which is not something I do too often, are we uh just rearranging without too many differences in process in this new department? Because, you know, an entity like St. Joseph, I feel sometimes they're the they're getting the brunt of the critique, when really what we're talking about is a bigger systemic failure where there isn't really enough infrastructure to meet the need. So I'm asking, what are we doing to diffuse the funding so that not only the big behemoths have the funding, because we know that people fall through the cracks. There's a lot of people that aren't able to get served when it's only entities like St. Joseph. So what is the different operation of this new department from how LASA was operating that made it so that all their funding was taken away and now given to you?
No, that's an excellent question, and it is our biggest concern. We do not want to recreate the wheel. We do not want to repeat the mistakes of the past. So the new county department is going to much better have the capacity to administer the contracts and the services than LASA. The county also is able to create the infrastructure to use Medi-Cal to help the homeless. So Medi-Cal can help pay for housing navigation. It can help pay for transitional rent, which is 6 months of rent for people who are transitioning out of care facilities. So we have to start leveraging everything we can while we can with healthcare. LASA was never going to be able to bill Medi-Cal, but Housing for Health, which is part of the new county department, they've already been doing this. So they can help pay for some of the services through Medi-Cal instead of with the traditional Measure H money, so we can help more people. So the Medi-Cal is a huge thing that we're working on, because we have to try to you know, use that to help people, because forever that has been separated. The new department is also working to become a full service partnership provider, which is a DMH program. So it's called Full Service Partnership, or FSP. That is another program that historically has failed because it is not street based. So FSP is supposed to help people with mild to moderate mental illness on the streets of LA County. It does not do a good job of doing that and has not historically. And so the new department can become an FSP provider, so we can create programs specifically for homeless people and
So
have the
quickly,
new department run it.
can I ask, how are you going to find the people who know the people that needs the help, right? So if somebody springs into Venice with these resources available to deploy, but they don't know the population because, you know, they're now having to go through HMIS and get the best guess from there. What is the county doing to try to bridge that gap, to get closer to the people they're serving by finding members in the community that they can partner with, and then do that instead of the top down we're always talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to do like yeah, we need to do the opposite. We need to say, hey, we are here, and so we don't have to come find you, that you can come to us. Like, I think we have to build a system where all the county departments are talking to each other. So if you're at a DPSS office, we can coordinate the services better. We need to create HMIS where you yourself can go into your own HMIS and make a note and say, hey, I moved spots and I'm here now. Or you can message your caseworker and say, hey, like, I need you to call me back today. Um, we need to come up with systems that are, again, like, not where you're waiting for somebody to find you, where you can say, hey, I'm here, and so we don't have to be looking for you. Like, I think that that's what we need to do, because the way it has been is not working. um
Do you
so
have, Jonah, do you have people working at the ground level that have relationships and interactions and that know who these individuals are, who may not otherwise come to you directly, but those individuals
yes.
can facilitate the connection?
Yes, so we do have hundreds of outreach teams that are all over the county that we need them to be experts in the areas that they work with. Other cities like Santa Monica will, hire their own outreach teams as well, so that they can become the experts. And so, the ECRC I talked about earlier, like, we're going to work with the people who are the experts. Like, we're not going to duplicate. And so we're going to work with whoever knows the people on the ground. And I do think that, I mean, I try to do this myself, of like reaching out to community members to try to, better understand the local dynamics and everything. Because we have to go where people are, and we need to do a better job of connecting with smaller organizations on the ground, churches, faith-based institutions, that are doing a lot of work and they're not part of the system. And so we do have some faith-based coordinators, and trying to do a better job of working with all the different organizations that are out there, that, like you said, Pat, like, they're not the heavy hitters, and like try to work with everybody. So that, again, so we can find people where they are. But I think that's really important.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And no word on the infrastructure part, the fact that, a lot of the building and the facilities we need, like, caseworkers can't deliver what we don't have. So they're out there telling people things that like, people don't believe anymore after a while.
Yeah, and that's like, even something as simple as that. I think that we have to get better at being transparent about the information. So right now, people just say you're on a wait list, and that's it. And they tell you you're on a wait list for however long. I think it's as simple as saying, like, how many people are ahead of you on the wait list, or how many, like, what, like, give people more details about what's actually happening, instead of just saying you're on a wait list. And that's not telling. And like, if you're just hearing the same thing over and over again, then, how can you be expected to, and like, how can that worker be expected to have your trust when they're just telling you the same thing over and over again?
Right.
So,
They,
yeah, I really appreciate the feedback.
and they don't know anything else to say because the connections are not there, the linkages are not there. And I think that's been a big part of the problem. The linkages not only within the intra department, but external to that. So that building the kind of network where, the systems work. I think that's what you've been saying, Jonah, how to
Yeah, and that,
get that
and we cannot do it without working with you all and hearing from the community. And so I always appreciate the time. I know you mentioned it's not the last chance to ask me questions, because I will keep coming back, and I appreciate you all giving me your time as well to really dig into this. I really appreciate it. There's not a lot of groups that have the level of engagement that you do.
Thank you. Sarah.
Hey there, sorry, button issues as well.
No
Um,
problem.
so I just have a brief question, kind of to sum up a lot of what I heard tonight, but mostly the feedback and the biggest issue that seems to be in our community is the immense mistrust with outreach workers, with our team here in CD11. It seems like every 2 or 3 days we are having highly invasive, problematic sweeps. And I have spoken to many unhoused people across Venice, as well as homeowners, renters, residents, and people that are very concerned. And the main issue seems to be is that no one really trusts outreach. They don't trust the sweeps team, and that there don't seem to be, as Pat stated, and as I know very, very much so personally, any real services being offered. So, they're sweeping people. They are pretty intense with it, really disrespectful, and sometimes what seems to be unlawful in the ways they are conducting these sweeps. And then they have outreach workers out there. And the outreach workers really don't seem to be outreaching. They seem to be chit chatting with the police and other people. And you see, 20, 30 people out there standing around talking. And, the people that are getting swept don't really have a say. They lose everything they own on a, cyclical basis over and over and over again, beat down again, moved, no blankets, no food, nothing. And there are no real meaningful services to back it up. And they say services. So again, I'm sorry, this is kind of a statement slash question, but how do we hold our local outreach teams here in CD11, specifically Venice, accountable to the services in which they claim they are providing? Because it actually seems quite abusive and an abuse of power. And, I hear very clearly the concerns on Washington Boulevard. And I know a lot of times people think that I am just pro unhoused. I don't want anyone sleeping on the street. And I really wish that we could understand as a community that we, in essence, all want the same thing. Do the people on Washington Boulevard that live and rent and own want the RVs off the streets? Yes. Do we want the RVs off the streets? Yes, but we want it with meaningful services. I don't want to see people ripped out of their RVs. I don't want to see their dogs and their animals ripped from them, taken to shelters. I want to know what we can do to dispel this immense mistrust, distrust in what is actually being offered. And again, I'm sorry because I know that was a lot. So what can we do, and what transparency can we get locally from our outreach team, from our council person's office, to find real meaningful services, and make sure that people are not just, being pushed around to every corner of our neighborhood. And I think that would solve both ends of a lot of people's concern um, issues. Is that, yes, we all want, we may not want it the same way, but we all want the same thing. And I would like to see people trusting in the people that come out. I'm not going to trust you if you came last week and you took everything I own, my mother's ashes and my dog, and left me on the curb with nothing, and then tell me, well, I have something for you. I'm not going to trust that. So how do you guys support our council district and really make sure that the people doing outreach are really providing outreach, because sweeps are not outreach? And that was it.
I appreciate your comment. I mean, with the grievances that, currently, again, LASA runs the grievances system, so it's not really the direct oversight of the providers because they're not funding it. I think that that's something too. We need to see if the county could take over the grievances process to provide better avenue for people to submit complaints about those kinds of things. And as it relates to the city, that is their that is their purview. Again, like I can't really speak much to that just because again, like that is something that is at the city's direction and discretion on how to deploy their resources. Again, Sarah, sorry, I don't have a better answer for you on that, but that is just the truth that, we're gonna, we'll keep working with, outreach teams to identify resources. Like I'm constantly pushing on DMH to do better, especially on OFW, but all over the county. We are always trying to find more, more beds and more places to take people, but it's just tough. So, but we are trying to do our part to make it easier for the outreach teams to access county services to try to help folks out. And that's going to be our role in this is to deliver the services, since we are the county. And so we know we have to do a better job of streamlining those services and making them more accessible to people. Again, I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you on that, but that's sort of like our in terms of our role with the city is that's what our role is.
Just quickly, would there be a way for you guys to come down and you guys, the supervisor's office, would there be a way for you guys to come down and supervise or actually witness what happens to our unhoused people during a sweep or when these alleged supposed services are offered? Would you guys be willing to come down and actually witness firsthand what we know is happening to these people?
I will say I have, and as I said earlier, I worked for the city of Los Angeles, so I can safely say I've attended hundreds of Care Plus cleanups. So I am aware of the situation you're describing. So I hear you though.
Thank you, Jonah. Thank you guys for this time. Thank you.
So, Jonah, to follow up on Sarah's question, since there is a separation of county and city, what, if any, connectivity will the counties have with the city now in
So
reference
we're
to?
going to continue working with the city as, like I said, to help make sure that we're delivering services in the streets, in the interim housing shelters, and in permanent housing sites. So the county, we currently pay for all of the intensive case management services that happens at every permanent supportive housing building. So every HHH building, any permanent supportive housing building that gets built in the city, the county funds those services. We also fund multidisciplinary outreach teams that have behavioral health and substance use counselors on those outreach teams that work all over the city of LA. And then we also are working to bring more services into the shelters that the city builds. So, our intention is to continue working a lot with the city. I know that Supervisor Horvath's district overlaps with about 8 or 9 council districts, and I, work with all of them very closely. So even from the supervisor's office, like we're going to continue working with the city. And so, again, like nothing that we're doing here is to impact that relationship. Like we need to continue working together.
Thank you. And so, Lisa, Margaret, I see your hand up, but public comment is over. So I apologize for that. But Lisa?
Yeah, hi, Jonah. To Lydia's point, I'm going to hope that somehow when the new county HSH is up and running, there will be a newly developed oversight commission for that. One can hope that naturally it would, but you just can't always assume things that are going to happen. I guess I want to follow up a little bit more about what was just being said. The problem with LASA running everything was that they really didn't have one boss. They were being operated by the county and they were being operated by the city. And so there really was no one who were they accountable to? And it was just a giant bureaucracy as well. And I know you said, using your lingo, you're not trying to reinvent the old bad wheel and try to create a new, better one. And as I've been following along, I'm cautiously optimistic that there is some better thought going into it. But I'm also afraid that this is just a giant animal. It's going to become one giant bureaucracy again. That the right hand isn't going to necessarily know what the left hand is doing. And Sarah Mann's got quite a job ahead of her. But I'm really wondering, so come next July, when funding transfers over, is it still, I mean, here in CD 11 and we show up at a sweep or whatever, is it still going to be city operated LAHSA people running it? Where are we going to get these giant new integrated services that are part of, HSH? Because we're still in city and still being using LAHSA funding and putting our funding there. So I don't, quite understand how it's going to work, and will HSH really be operating only in county unincorporated area, or like West Hollywood that contracts county services, except for like DMH, who's always been county and into Venice. It's very convoluted and difficult for me to understand how that's going to work and how we as city residents are going to benefit from this new county um, department.
Yeah, absolutely. So the services would not be subject to those geographic limitations. So the services that the county offers are available to every part of the county, regardless of the city that you're in. So in the city of Los Angeles, the ECRC is going to help as much as they would in West Hollywood. It does not make a difference. It is, again, that's the thing we're trying to do, is make it level access to all county services. Again, sorry if that, again, I know that that's come up a lot. Like, it doesn't mean that, like, if you're in CD 11 or you're in the city, that you're not able to access the county department. Like, that is everything the county department has to offer will be available regardless of the city. So again, I hope that answers your question. Like, DMH, again, will continue to serve Venice. We are, like I said, with the FSP, trying to get more mental health resources that are specifically through the new department. We're trying to get more money for mental health housing, like I said, through Prop 1. So these are all things that the new department can do a better job coordinating. Because for the longest time, when it comes to mental health, DMH has kind of been off there on an island and not been part of the integrated system. So with the new county department, we now will have them at the table and forcing the other departments in, and we're going to try to bring in more of those programs to the department. And then also, to your first comment on bureaucracy, as a department head, they're accountable to the board of supervisors. So there is one, I mean, I guess it's 5 now, but those are the people that have direct oversight of the department. And so, for the public and everything, it is really, again, the board of supervisors that has the ultimate say over the new county department. And so, like, those are the offices like Supervisor Horvath's, where, we are the ones that have the oversight. So.
Okay. I'm still, it's all a little convoluted. I guess it's just kind of a wait and see too, and watch how it shakes out.
Well, and as I mentioned, I will keep, and I do apologize. I have a few more minutes for more questions, but like, I'm also happy to come back like in a few more months and continue this discussion, because I really do want to keep this conversation going. This is not the last time I'll come.
I appreciate that. And I know you sidestepped the whole question about Santa Monica and everything. And I obviously you guys own that property and you're using it. And if you're not going to be using it for mental health, maybe the neighbors would be more amenable to senior citizens who are homeless. I really am worried that no one is really discussing that or addressing it. And that is the largest growing segment and fastest growing segment of our unhoused population. And it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse by what's going on with the government shutdown and administration. And these people are being priced out and are evicted and are living in cars and scared shitless, being like, oh my God, I'm homeless. What do I do now? I'm 68 years old. I'm 74 years old. What do I do now? I'm on a fixed income. I don't know what to do. And I would hope that maybe you could use those in transition. Maybe people will be more amenable to seniors. I don't know how we're addressing that senior population that's swift.
So Lisa, thank you for that question. I think that's an excellent question, observation, and Jonah, for your consideration. That is extremely important. I don't want you to leave before Allie has an opportunity to ask her question. So if you could just have a few more moments. Ally?
Okay. I don't know. I see there's a couple of stakeholders. Laddie didn't get to ask her question, which was about Hollywood having success with decreasing their getting many more people into housing, and are you looking at their lead as something to follow? And then the other question that I was sent by Judy Goldman, I don't need to say a stakeholder's name, do I, or should I, Lisa? I don't know if I should or shouldn't.
You don't
Anyway.
have to. It's okay.
You don't have to. Just
The question is, for decades, residents in Venice have raised concerns about St. Joseph Center's limited transparency, limited engagement, and limited responsiveness to the community. The recent Santa Monica project, conducted with minimal public input, has deepened those concerns. We've kind of covered that. What mechanisms does the county have for evaluating providers with a history of community distrust? We've gone through that. What will the county be doing to create opportunity for local stakeholders, again, to take part in that evaluation and in the selection of new supplemental providers? St. Joseph's made the decision not to engage the community. The county was complicit in supporting their secrecy. We feel that you need to recognize this, and I'm afraid you might receive enormous community pushback, including legal actions, if you continue an authoritarian model of decision-making and secrecy and not involving the community. That's pretty much what everyone's already been saying. I think what Pat was saying is, use the community that's on the ground here more. I know Lisa told me that you're thinking of having a meeting with local leaders to meet with St. Joseph's, and I think that's a really great idea. But Lydia and Pat and everybody's sort of saying the same thing. Dr. Goldman, Naomi. I think we definitely don't want to be shut out of the process. And I guess what I would ask too is, I read Sarah Maheen's statement, and I know that she's still using the Housing First model. The thing about Housing First that I think is creating distrust in the community is it says that it's evidence-based, and yet we've only gone from 79,000 to 72,000, which doesn't feel like a great success story to people that are sending me a lot of emails. They think it's very frustrating with all this money spent, that's well, and that was even sort of celebrated that, homelessness is decreasing, but the numbers in the county are pretty alarming. And then when you just said to us that, and we all watched the video that you sent us on the Department of Mental Health meeting with the county, and they said that, that there were only 75.
Yeah.
That was an astonishing number. And also that you just said that Supervisor Horwath is very dismayed that it still has to be voluntary, the care courts. Well, doesn't Supervisor Horvath have jurisdiction over the Department of Mental Health? This is where it gets confusing, I think.
Yeah.
I think what Lisa's saying is the same thing. Where does the buck stop? I mean, we were hoping that with this new department of Sarah Maheen, who everybody seems to really respect and like, somebody's got to make the calls. And I think what people are asking for, Pat, everybody on the committee here, and certainly every email I've gotten, we want to know there's something new, that you got new ideas that don't repeat, what Pat was saying. He finally agrees with Nick Antonicella that the Titanic, we don't want to, just keep changing the chairs in the Titanic, but we want to hear that there's something new in terms of a goal and transparency, and finding more immediate solutions to more immediate housing. So I don't know. I'm dismayed that there's not a newer feel to everything. That's what we as the community, and also the other thing that you're hearing from everybody, which is really true, is that we want to be involved, because we are boots on the ground. I mean, literally, many of us living here, people know people living here on the ground, outside on the ground. And, we want to make sure that they don't continue living on the ground. It's not okay. And you know, like when that housing was closed recently, I think it was called the Manor House. I'm not sure what it was called.
It was not
Those
closed.
really great, you know, it was a great effort of people getting help and cases. Nobody thought people would go inside, and they did, and it was great. And then it was closed down by the county. That was shocking. And I know
It's
a lot of
not correct.
people on the ground here were really upset about that. Really upset about it because they saw people that looked like they would never take help, looking like they were wanting a job and getting clean. It was successful. And that was, so I know there's been hearts broken.
So the manor has not closed down.
Well, it
I
did
want to be
close
very
down.
clear.
People were
The,
evicted.
the manor has not closed down. There was changes in contracting, but the manor still is open as a facility. So it didn't just
But
kick
people were
everybody out.
evicted, Jonah.
They weren't. It's not a. That's.
They were.
It's not
They
a.
all came back to the beach. They
It's
were.
it's not. So just so you know that the manor is not. The county had contracted some beds at the manor. We created a new contract with a site outside of Venice, and I guess the manor's in Santa Monica. And so there are still people that are housed at the manor under different programs, and the owner of the manor is still operating the manor. So I just want to be clear. I know that there were people exited
Yeah.
because of things. So like I just want to clarify though, Ally, that the manor as the whole is not closed.
I heard it
So
was reopening. Yeah, but I mean, but those
so
people.
like the facility still exists. Like I just want to be clear that
Oh,
like
I know
just
I know it still exists. That I do.
okay, cool. Because I
Oh,
sorry, I
but I
just
mean,
like
but
because I've
that
heard
the
that
heartbreak
too.
was that these were success stories and they were suddenly sent back to the beach. And that was pretty devastating for people that have been helping them.
Yeah, and that is devastating for me as well because, you know, I'm being told that that they worked with them to find alternative locations and to try to move folks to other places. But those stories are heartbreaking and unfortunately, you know, that is the case. We worked with another provider. This is another place that lost a contract countywide and hundreds of people were exited across the county. We have some operators that are not, Carrie actually sent me an article about some other operators of these kinds of houses that are luring people in from other states and taking advantage of them. Um, so there are a lot of things that we need to fix. And so, again, it's just your comments are appreciated. I just think again that
I'm
I'm
grateful.
sorry, like you had
I'm
said a
grateful.
lot, Allie, so I'm
I
trying to
know,
figure out
I
how
know.
to answer
And I'm
each part of
grateful.
it.
I'm just, there's so much concern.
Yeah,
You
and
guys,
again,
we do have a number of other things on the agenda that we have to get to. Um, I appreciate hearing the thoughts and the outline of what the county is forecasting through county supervisor Horvath is doing and is beginning to put in place. As we think about how vast, and Lisa mentioned it, and so did some others, how complex and compound and huge this whole thing is, and then to try to separate the county and the city and people that were also being paid by the county and being paid by the city, it's a tremendous effort to be made. But I can appreciate, having come from those public bureaucracies myself, I can appreciate um, the monumental task that is before them, for them to even begin to think about having a structure or an outline to make sense of all of this and how it can work. So I appreciate that thought has happened. I appreciate Jonah having come to listen to what it is that people are concerned about, and with the commitment to continue to work on that with the community. And as Pat has said, with people on the ground participating in that, because, I always say that, it's one thing for people at the top to think that they know what the problem is and what the answers is, but it's the people that are on the ground that are dealing with it every single day that really knows the answers and how to make things work. So if we can find a way to work from both ends of these issues and to continue looking at how we can bring a network into these disparate entities so that we have a tighter coalition of people so that they understand their linkages and how the system can work, should work. But I also know that it's going to take some time for that to happen. But on this committee, we have some very talented, skilled, and committed people that have ideas and who are problem solvers and are able to look outside of the box to say what can happen because they know from a different perspective than people sitting other places on how things, who's being impacted and ideas about how to relieve some of that impact and make things work better together. So,
and thank you all so much for having me. I mean, I will say again, some of the challenges, like we mentioned with Care Court and some of these regional challenges, are also things that I think, the state representatives need to hear from you all. Because, there are roles that the state has in all of this. The county, we will continue to hear from you. We'll show up. I know, CD11 is very engaged. But also too, just wanted to put that out there of reaching out to your state representatives. I'm not sure, how much they hear from constituents about homelessness. I know that there are things like, again, the Care Court program being voluntary, that is, again, a state program. And if there's changes that we want to make to them, I also think it's important that we raise them. I know we are also talking to the state about, changes that need to happen, when it comes to the courts and the judges as well. That's something that we don't have control over at the county. So there's all, and again, I just really appreciate the comments tonight, and I want to keep working together with you all. We have a really hard road ahead of us, and so I'm just grateful for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I look forward to the next time that I can speak with you all.
Jonah, can you share your email address to stakeholders who want to get a hold of you, please?
Yes, I can't put it anywhere else, so I'm going to put it in the Q&A.
Okay.
If that's I don't know if that's the right place, but I'm gonna.
Fair enough.
That's my email, so please feel free to reach out.
Okay, if I put your email on our webpage, on the homelessness page on VNC?
Oh yeah, of course. No, yeah. I think Nick's put it in one of his stories before too. So
Catherine, I'll put
so you guys, we're gonna move forward to our next item. It's
thank you
take
so
care.
much, Joe.
No problem. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Jonah. Thank you. Thank everyone for your input. Your questions were excellent. And I think we've learned something, but the work is ahead of us, a lot of work ahead of us. But I think it's doable. We have some people in some very important, significant places doing some good work. And I think the participants that we have on this committee are just the right people to help move things along in concert with Horvath's office. And I like what he said about CD11, that they'll continue to work with CD11 in the city in getting things done, and that it doesn't matter that if something is not a part of the county, that they won't turn it away. So I appreciate that. So the next item on our agenda is the motion to open the Oakwood Recreation Center for emergency shelter during inclement weather, or identify another viable option within Venice. So I'll read the motion. You guys have copies of the motion?
Yeah, it was on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm just looking for my copy. You had discussion about this, or it was brought up at the last meeting, and this is the motion that came out of the discussion. So I'm just going to read it so that we're all on the same page about it. The Venice Neighborhood Council Homelessness Committee 2024 Oakwood Shelter Motion. 2024?
That way, there was a motion made in 2024, the same motion to have Oakwood reopened, but no one's doing anything about it. So Pat wanted to introduce it again. So it's a
Should we call it 2025 though?
No, that was just a reference to the 2024 motion.
No, I understand. So we have a different
Going,
motion.
if you keep going, it'll show why that's referenced. Because we're basically saying nothing happened from that 2024 one. And then this one is, so I don't think it's titled the 2024 motion.
I'm reading it. It says 2024 Oakwood Shelter Motion. That's where I got the title from. But I'll just read it, and then if there's any changes, we can talk about it.
I didn't write that.
The Venice Neighborhood Council requests the Emergency Management Department, with assistance from Council District 11 and the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, LASA, and in consultation with the mayor's office, to create an adverse weather shelter program for Oakwood Recreation Center, as well as to determine other possible settings in CD 11. That is Penmar Recreation Center, Westminster Senior Center, Vera Davis Center, to better manage weather-related emergencies, included but not limited to extreme rain and cold and hot temperatures. This would include a clear delineation of responsibilities for major weather emergencies, preparation and response, including which city departments are involved in the decision-making process for an Oakwood shelter activation, identification of communication channels for critical safety information between city departments and non-city entities, including how and when an Oakwood activation is communicated, including unhoused clients. An emergency plan for augmenting outreach or other staffing capacity during periods of an Oakwood activation during weekends and holidays, and other lessons learned pertaining to the activation of the Oakwood program during the February 2024 rains.
Oh, Naomi, that was just the 2024 motion. What's on the agenda is the 2025 Pat's motion. That was just supporting documents.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying, that this right here is the motion?
No, that's
That's what's written here?
old motion. That's the 2024 motion. The new one is on the agenda, Pat's, under new business.
7A, I'm asking, that's the motion. So there's nothing else for me to read except for that part that says the VNC board affirms its 2024 motion?
Yeah.
Requesting it, okay. So this is what would go before the neighborhood council?
Yes.
The VNC board reaffirms its 2024 motion requesting the city of Los Angeles, including the Emergency Management Department, Council District 11, LASA, and the mayor's office to establish and maintain an adverse weather shelter plan for Venice at the Oakwood Recreation Center or another suitable location. The VNC board further requests an update on the status of this plan and its readiness for activation during inclement weather.
I'll move that onto the floor for discussion.
And I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. So, public comment? Yeah.
All right, we got Nick first.
Nick? Nick, you need to, yeah, there you go.
Okay. I'm confused as you are. Shouldn't the motion read regarding temporary emergency access for 2025, 2026? I mean, that's the time period that you're trying to address. So it seems to me that should be revised right now, technically in the motion. And I'm just curious, what would happen if you used it as if you used Oakwood as a temporary? Would you take the basketball area, the gym? Is that where the people would go? I'm just, or would it be that room to the left where they have the kitchen? Or you're just making you're making a recommendation, but leaving the specifics to those who would host this place.
Just say that when they did have a shelter there before they used the gym inside.
Okay.
Mhm. Next.
Lydia.
And I see Peggy Lee has her hand up too.
Yes.
Lydia? Mhm.
Yes, thank you. I 100% behind this. And however we figured it out before, we can do that, and we can actually help provide some meals and whatnot as well, since everything's coming together through community in the surrounding Venice area. But yeah, I'm 100% behind this. Thank you.
Next would be Peggy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for bringing this motion forward, Patrick. I really support it. And if you have to change the year, whatever, do what you have to do, because we do not have a winter shelter. The last winter shelter we had was in Pan Pacific Park in 2021, I believe. It was a bus pickup. So we don't have a winter shelter. And this is only inclement weather. So it would activate based on like a severe storm coming in, and then deactivate once the storm passes. It's just a life-saving measure. And also, I think if there was some way to amend it to make sure that there is when it's activated, that people are told, because the last time it happened, which was just one time, what, 2 winters ago or whatever, however long ago it was, that we notified people over at Bread and Roses. I mean, nobody local did any real human outreach. So we found out about it, and we went around and
Peggy Lee?
I don't know what happened to her.
There she's back.
She comes, okay. Peggy, you want to finish up?
oh,
You have,
where did I
you
end?
said the last time Bread and Roses did the outreach, went around to tell
No,
people.
Bread and Roses nobody did outreach to the people who are living on the streets in our area. We did the outreach. The people in the community went and told people living outside. So that was a major drawback. And then when they went, it was full. So where did the other people come from? Were they bussed in from somewhere? I don't know. So I think that was, I don't know how that happened or why that happened, but we need definite local outreach when these things happen. So, I mean, even though we found out about it right away and we went out to the people who were at Bread and Roses and told them, and other people went out on the street, it didn't, I mean, they went there and it was full, right? So we have to tell our people, not just some
Yeah.
website.
I apologize, Peggy. Your time is up. You want to finish up real quick?
No, that's enough.
Okay, thank you.
Margaret Malloy.
Hi guys, 1,000%. Thanks for bringing it on again, Pat. This is just a travesty that keeps going. And I don't know where people are supposed to be and survive, and it's just cynical. Why would you abandon the emergency cold weather shelters in favor of 211 instead of having multiple solution streams? And the most vulnerable people cannot navigate the 211 system. And many of us, but Pat, for the best, most kind of prolonged experience, documented what the experience was. And we corresponded last year with David Seinheiser at the LA Times. And if it doesn't happen, this will be followed up. It needs to be an automatic trigger so that everybody knows they can go there. And if it's overflowing, that there's the next site available. And it needs to be west of Lincoln. We're talking disabled people, elderly, cold, belongings, no place, no storage. How cynical can you be? It is just amazing to me that we're living in the richest state in the richest country in the world in 2025, and we're asking for this crumb. No, I want to demand it, and I want it to be mandated so that people don't have to wait and see, that they know rain comes, go to Oakwood. If Oakwood's full, you're going to be bused to the next available.
Okay, Margaret.
Let's get real. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Erica Moore, but I'm going to caution you, Erica, as a board member, not to express opinion for something that will come before the board.
Hi there. I'm definitely not going to express an opinion. I wanted to point something out, that I noticed here for a clarification, is that I think what's happening is the supporting document is being read, which is the motion that was passed by the board in 2024. And so if we're reading this agenda, I'm sorry, my screen just changed. But reading the agenda, this is a reaffirmation of that motion, and the current status and purpose of the reaffirmation was not read, and that's under it. And that might clarify where there's some confusion, it seems. Because it basically is saying there was this motion, it was passed. What's its status? It hasn't happened. We need this. That's what I'm reading. Might want to revisit that. Because I think the supporting document was the initial motion. Hopefully I'm being clear. So you can check that out.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So that I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought that the document that I printed out just before coming, was the motion, because that's kind of what I expected without really looking more into it. But since it said the 2024, and what I heard was that nothing happened with this document in 2024. And so that's why it was being reissued. But that's not clear, not even in my reading what's here under your 7A, that this was a motion that was not approved last year. So it's being reintroduced to the neighborhood council for approval.
Approved, but it was not acted upon. We passed the motion on the BNC unanimously, but it was never, LASA did not do it. They created 211 instead.
Okay, so is this title accurately reflecting what it is that, I mean, it looks like it's a motion from 2024, not a motion that would be effective now the last 2 months of 2025 and then into 2026. That's just what I'm saying, but.
Okay, just to clarify, the way I wrote the motion, it started from scratch without including 2024. And then 2024 was added as a supplement because it had a lot of very good information. If you see all the details that they put, all the work that they went into putting that motion together, it's just in reading my motion, it seemed like this supportive information was kind of right in stride with it, and we wanted that together with the motion that we're voting on, because that one was also approved.
I understand what you're saying. It just seemed to me that it needed some clarification language that explained that. So, Lisa, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you, Pat, for bringing this up. I looked into my emails today, and we did pass the motion on July 16th in 2024, so nearly a year and a half ago. On August 31st, I asked our president to send me a copy of the letters he had sent with that motion. And 4 days later, he replied that he hadn't sent them yet and was kind of vague on where they should go. And I said, they're clearly put into the motion where they should go. I included email addresses. I did write that motion 2 years ago, or in 2024. I spent a lot of time to make sure that it was pretty well covered on all angles. So there wasn't a lot of wiggle room for agencies, that it was very clear about what we needed. And again, affirmed with the president to please send me copies. I never received them. I'm guessing that it doesn't go. So while I appreciate that we are trying to send a motion that says we're reaffirming our 2024 motion, and here's a copy of that motion, I don't know that we can necessarily reaffirm it because no one ever got it, in my thinking. So it's almost like we need to take that motion and redo it, make sure that there's a little more clarity on it, and say, going forward, or 2025 or 2026. And just
I'm open to any
move forward.
clarification amendment, anything that we can vote to make it more ready to go, because we can move on this.
Yeah, I just don't think we can reaffirm something that nobody got. They're going to be like, huh? So, yeah, I don't know if we.
I think excuse me, I think the clarification would be just changing the date on it, because we're talking about going forward. It doesn't really have any big relevance what they didn't do. We want to know what they're going to do, and it would be getting the neighborhood council to approve the motion, and then to pass it on to the city and the county, because they're the ones that fund these
Right.
centers.
So we need to bring back the language that's in that
Yes.
prior motion.
Exactly.
And I'm just going to jump in. I have to disagree. It was a motion that was already passed, and due to negligence from whoever was in charge of getting that motion out, we already passed it. So why would we need to pass it again? That's what I'm unclear on. This seems like it seems like we need to really put pressure on the people whose job it is to get this done. I see CIS reports fly out of our VNC for many other things that don't truly have unanimous votes or really represent the full voice of the community. CISs go out that have maybe just one extra vote making it pass. But yet we have something that the community desperately needs, that we have been screaming for, and we have no way to do it. I also want to bring up the fact that as far as inclement shelters, I'm not sure how this works with sports, but it's been brought to my attention by a stakeholder that we have Palisades High School sports in our Oakwood gym. I don't know if when inclement weather happens that it immediately stops or ceases all sports activities. And I hope there's not public outcry or backlash about that. But I feel like being humans and understanding that it is pouring rain outside and people are cold or people are burning up in the sun and the heat and have nowhere to go, is a really important part of community and a really important part of care and humanity and the very inclusiveness that Venice is. But I do hope that, we can get this sorted out, and I just hope we don't have to vote on it again and have another motion. These board meetings seem to be going very, very long, and things are getting knocked to farther and farther down the line of what can be heard, especially with the new procedural changes as to what items come first. But it's important. I mean, we put in a motion at our committee to change our name to Housing and Homelessness, and we're months out and we still have not been heard on just a name change, just a simple name change from the Homelessness Committee to Housing and Homelessness Committee. So I think it's important that the people in charge and the people that have these responsibilities are being persistent with the will of the people and what motions we've passed. And that includes a lot of motions that we passed that I've seen no action on. So Hopefully the people at the top can do the right thing and represent the community that they were elected to represent and the wishes of the community. And this was a wish of the community. This was a motion passed by our committee and a motion passed by the previous board. And it needs to move forward. And I agree with Margaret and everyone else and Peggy that, you know, next options need to be ready to go. We don't just need one inclement shelter, inclement weather shelter. We need multiples. We need all of them to activate immediately. And it's a thing. Maybe they can get a text blast out. I'm sorry. I know that was really long winded, but this is really important. And we are failing people that are dying on the streets, and more people are dying on our streets now than have ever previously. And it's disgusting. And that's it.
Lisa, is your hand still up? Because I see
No,
it's,
I put it back up, but I'll
okay.
let Ally speak before I
Yeah,
bring up
so
another
Ally,
point.
and I just want to ask something because I'm learning something here. Once the motion went to the neighborhood council and it passed, whose responsibility was it to see to it that the city followed through on funding or providing or doing what they needed to do in order to have a shelter at Oakwood or any other place?
Well, as Lisa
What had
said, the
to happen?
responsibility was for the motion to be sent to the people that it was written to. I didn't know it wasn't. I mean, that's the first time ever hearing of it. That's outrageous if it's true. But secondly, I did follow through by calling CD11 when the 211 system was just a complete fiasco. And
Right.
apparently LASA, what I was told, and I kept trying to call LASA and they wouldn't get back to me. They decided, unilaterally that no, they didn't want any more brick and mortar shelters because they were so expensive to operate. They wanted to create hotel rooms and free Ubers to get to the hotels. And it was a disaster. Many of us on this Zoom were online with them for hours at a time. That's in the language of current status and purpose of reaffirmation, which we didn't read, Naomi, but it
I did read it. I did read it.
No, we actually didn't. It's the bottom part.
Where it says current, oh, that part. No, I didn't read that. Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
it explains very clearly, Pat wrote that, the 211 system
That's
failed.
the actual motion. That's the one that we're actually moving on
It's the
because
whereas of the therefore motion. And so, but Erica put it at the bottom because she said that's the correct way to do it. But anyway, I think we should just simply put in 2025, 2026 and get this back in front of the VNC, pass it tonight. So that we don't wait because the weather's coming. We're at November. I mean, it's November 1st. I don't want to wait till next month to do this. So let's fix the language, I say, and get this sucker passed and bring it back to the VNC. And then I will continue, and all of us on this board can continue now that Loss is not going to be in charge of. We have to find out who in the county is and put pressure on them and say that system was horrible and we want the brick and mortar back.
What is the last sentence of that document? Because it ends for me that says, as another rainy and cold season approaches, the VNC board reaffirms its request that the city and county, and then.
Is there not a third page?
I think Sarah
Here it is, Naomi. That the city and county act now to identify equipment and activate a local emergency shelter plan before the conditions again become life-threatening for the unhoused community.
Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a good motion. Let's add 20, 25, 26, like both Lisa and Nick said, and let's pass it. That's what
I'm going to make a suggestion that if we pass it to the board, Sarah's absolutely correct. It might be December or January before it gets heard on the board, the way the board process is working.
Who cares? At least we get it.
No, what do you mean? Who cares?
Well, I mean, I'm saying.
But can I finish,
Order, please. Order.
I'd like to finish. We do not have, if we've passed a motion, we don't have to run it through the board again. So maybe we need to change it. Instead of the VNC reaffirms, the Homelessness Committee reaffirms and directs the president to send out the motion that was previously passed by the board and create a list of here are the people that it needs to go to. I mean, we really don't need to waste the time of the board. Once something passes the board, it is affirmed by the board unless the board creates another motion to say, we think differently. We like blue popsicles instead of red popsicles. It's already there. So why waste the time? Why not just pass it as this committee asks that it get resent out or sent at all, and with a follow through to please send the chair of the committee within 10 days a copy of the letters that have gone out.
Okay,
So that was, I'm sorry, that was part of the direction of the motion, that in addition to passing the motion, the instructions and actions of the neighborhood council was to, as Lisa just said.
So I'm suggesting that we rewrite the motion a little bit here, make an amendment to just that the committee is reaffirming our 2024 motion and direct the president to submit the letter of the motion with our motion to the proper channels and to send a copy to the chair within 10 days, put a call to action on it that it has been sent.
Okay, so I've heard you, and so let me hear what Pat has to say.
Okay, so I'm also considering, or being told this is worth considering, a community impact statement in light of what all is going on with 211 and not having any place for people to go. Like, you can talk about how, you know, people are congregating under the library where they're not supposed to be, congregating under 7-Eleven awnings, right? Just finding their own makeshift shelters and have that impact be what gives fuel to the need for the new motion.
So I hear you. I'm just going to suggest for people to talk about, what if you say something like, given that this motion was passed July 16, 2024, the Homelessness Committee therefore directs, or whatever word that Lisa used, that the president of the neighborhood council send a letter and this motion to the CD11 or the proper authorities to see that the shelters are in fact funded or implemented according to the direction or the recommendations of the Homelessness Committee. Something that alludes to the fact that this was passed and these are the directions to move forward with, so that we can get the shelters in place without going through a whole new motion all over again.
Or wasting time with it at the board for a few months.
Given that this motion was passed July 16, 2024.
Can somebody write this down? What Dr. Nightingale's saying, and then we'll take a vote. We just need to get the writing, the wording down.
I can write it. Okay.
Well, no, if you say it, maybe someone else could write it.
I'm writing. Go
Okay.
ahead, start all over again.
Okay, great. So Lisa will write it down. Thank you, Lisa.
So the Homelessness Committee 2024 Oakwood Shelter motion was passed by the Venice Neighborhood Council July 16, 2024.
Mm-hmm.
The Homelessness Committee directs the president of the Neighborhood Council to convey this approved motion to CD11 and the proper authorities to implement shelters at Oakwood and other places applicable for providing shelter for during inclement weather.
Can we specifically add the name Penmar
I think
and
that's a great idea.
Westminster?
Well, yeah.
Because Westminster is not being used right now, but I think the more specific we can be, I know that Penmar has a room that can be used.
Okay, we can do that.
24/7.
We
I
can
believe
add.
the original motion did include all of
It
that,
does include the specific names. And I think the way that it was written should just go along with the directive to the president of the Venice Neighborhood Council. And attached is the original motion that was passed July 16, 2024.
I kind of lost at the end there, Naomi, what you were saying. I got as far as the committee directs the VNC president to convey the approved motion to CD11 and proper authorities, and then you said other things to ensure
Ensure the to ensure that the shelters, what did I say?
The ensure
To ensure that the emergency management department, with assistance from Council District 11 and the LA Homeless Services Authority, but we don't know if I'm not going to mention them. I just say the appropriate authorities to create adverse weather shelter program for Oakwood. And then as Sarah is saying, other possible settings, including Penmar Rec Center, Westminster Senior Center, Vera Davis Center, or other centers that may be accessible for a winter or inclement weather or adverse weather shelter program. I know that LASA used to do that, but we don't know what's happening with LASA, so I'd rather not. We don't want to give it to them. We just want it to be handled by whoever is appropriately supposed to handle it, right?
Correct. Let's not give it to LASA.
Okay, well, again, let me remind everybody, we are only a city agency, and so we can't send anything to LASA or county.
Right, exactly.
So,
That's why we say we send
the
it to.
last, I'd written in the last motion, so not only CD11, but it was to the mayor's office, to the CAO's office, to all, I spread it all. Although a lot of the homelessness now has left the CAO's office, and has moved to the housing department. And that's where they're operating, the
Yeah.
city's operating. So we
Yeah.
can, update the mailing list. And I can, provide all of that too.
Okay.
So, so
So-
this is what we've got.
Okay.
The homelessness committee, in 2024 passed, or I think it should be.
The Venice
Yeah, the
Neighborhood
Venice
Council.
Neighborhood Council passed a motion submitted by the Homelessness Committee on July 16, 2024. The, regarding emergency.
To provide emergency shelter during adverse.
Emergency shelter during adverse weather condition.
Yeah.
During weather conditions. Okay.
Yeah.
The committee, the Homelessness Committee directs the VNC president to convey this approved motion to CD11 and proper entities, that's a better word than entities, to ensure that emergency weather shelters and adverse weather shelters
are provided.
Okay. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. To ensure that the EMS emergency, I have something like EMS shelters, homeless service authorities to create adverse weather shelters at Oakwood, as well as other locations such as Penmar, Westminster Senior Center, Vera Davis for implementation. I don't understand what I wrote there quickly.
Okay, I think we were.
The committee directs the VNC president to convey this approved motion to CD11 and proper entities to ensure that Emergency
that
EMS
the,
shelters, that EMS
to ensure
shelters.
that the approved motion gets carried out.
Is conveyed or approved motion. We can't carry things out because we're just
No, not
advisory.
us, not us, that the city carries it out.
Approved motion is carried out
Or implemented.
By homeless service authorities to create adverse and emergency weather shelters at Oakwood, as well as other locations such as Penmar, Westminster Senior Center, and Vera Davis for implementation.
The original motion that was approved July 16, 2024
Right, that's how it starts out.
is attached for your review or for your information or something like that.
Yeah. I think this is good. We can just pass it off directly to the president. Oh, and then I think we need a call to action. Original motion attached. The president will send this letter. Do we want to give a timestamp? Within 10 days, 10 business days, we'll submit the letter.
By the prior to the next board meeting or committee or 10 days or whatever people want to say within the
2
next
weeks, 14 days.
No,
people want.
No more than we said convey, right? The letter, the information to the motion should be forwarded to CD11 within the next 14 days.
The president will submit the letter within 14 days and submit a copy to the homelessness chair. Accountability.
The letter should be forwarded to CD11 with a copy to the homelessness chair within the next 14 days.
Okay. All right. The homelessness, the Venice Neighborhood Council passed an emergency weather shelter for adverse weather conditions on July 16th.
We use the word inclement weather, right? Adverse weather sounds so, I think there's very specific definitions about inclement weather already in place. Can that be consistent?
What does the original motion, and I think I looked that all up because
the original motion says to create an adverse weather shelter program.
Yeah, the reason I used adverse is because that was the county's wording and the city's wording for adverse, which could even include if it's suddenly 105 degrees for 5 days straight, they need to provide cooling centers too.
Okay.
So adverse is a catch-all for all extreme weather conditions.
Yeah, let's just go with that. It's the language that the county was using, adverse weather.
And the city was using. But it's a good point, what you're saying, Pat. The Venice Neighborhood Council passed a motion on July 16, 2024 to provide emergency shelters during adverse weather conditions for unhoused. The Homelessness Committee directs the VNC president to convey this approved motion to CD11 and proper entities to ensure that the approved motion is carried out by homeless service authorities to create an adverse weather shelter at Oakwood, as well as other locations such as Penmar, Westminster Senior Center, Vera Davis for implementation. The president will submit the attached the president will submit the letter within 14 days and submit a copy to the homelessness chair. The original motion is attached for your records.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I think we have to take a motion in a second and open it up to public comment again.
After all the people get to say what they want to say.
I'll make.
Well, we need to get a motion.
I will. I just want to make sure that we're not going to make any other changes after you read what you read, Lisa. So that's all. Just closing the door on that. So that we can move on to public comment and do a vote. Okay. Hearing none, let's have some public comment on that. The
Well,
motion.
let's get a motion on the floor.
Motion, not yet. All in favor of the motion?
Well,
Who's
not
making
vote,
the
not a
motion?
vote.
Make the
Does someone
motion.
make the motion?
I will
and
make
then
the
someone
motion.
needs to second it.
I'll
Right.
second it.
Okay, motion has been made by
Allie.
and seconded by, was that Sarah? Or I
Julie.
didn't- Julie. Okay, so motion made and seconded. All in favor of the motion? Any
You have to have
opposed?
public comment.
We will. Okay, public comment. Nick's hand is up. Nick?
You gotta unmute me.
No, I don't see you mute.
You are unmuted. You're
You are
talking. We're
unmuted. We
hearing
hear, we hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, first, you can't take a vote, so you're gonna have to have your vote after public comment.
Yeah, right. Got it.
Secondly, if this motion was passed in 2024, and I'm not sure about this or not, but if a prior board passed it, I think you have to reintroduce it as a new motion. And,
That's the thought.
So the other thing is, when is the next meeting of the VNC?
3 weeks from now. We just had a meeting last.
So whenever the next meeting of the VNC is, then you can have it placed on this is just a recommendation. I mean, you can do what you want, but I think you need to just simply take the original motion, change the dates, get it on the agenda for the next meeting, other than recreating the wheel here. These are advisements. They're not set in stone. Directing the president to do this, and I just think it comes across as confrontational and it's not going to meet your goals and objectives.
Point taken. Thank you. I think it's a good idea because just because the president is the same, is the board different? The makeup of the council different?
I'll answer that. The board is different, but you don't have to re-litigate or reintroduce motions every new term because, that would be like Congress every 4 years having to redo everything that's happened in the last 250 years. Once something is said, unless the next board changes it or the current board changes their position, the position sits and stays. And I've had this checked out many times. All right. Next is Peggy Lee Kennedy.
I just want to make a point of information. I believe LASA is in charge of the winter shelter and inclement weather system activation. They do call it inclement weather. So when you look at their dashboard, there is an actual section that they activate when there's inclement weather that shows call 211 or whatever they say. So I think you really need to put inclement in there. And LASA is a communication, and I disagree that you have to re-vote on it. But thank you. That's it.
Whoops.
Two other
Next
hands
is
are raised. Yeah.
Margaret.
Hi guys. sooner than last year. This needs to happen. I hope you can bypass the board. I would like some accountability also. Why was an important motion approved by the board and not forwarded to the relevant agencies? You know, Brian needs to be accountable. This is a community stakeholder issue. Lives are really at risk. So, you know, Nick talks about confrontation. I would talk about accountability.
Do we know that the letter was not forwarded to CD11? Do we know that?
I can't guarantee it, but I asked multiple times for a copy of it and it was never sent to me. And ultimately, or usually when I badger enough for a letter to be sent to me, I'll get a copy when he
So I
might
think
get around to it, but I never received this one.
I didn't know public comment was back and forth, but I will continue.
It is
Yeah,
not
sorry,
back and
I'm sorry
forth, but
about that, Margaret.
no, it's not back and forth.
Okay, let me just continue
let
in
me
that
say that.
case.
Yeah. Okay.
So I hope it all gets sorted out, but bottom line is, if it's submitted to the board, I would hope it's submitted as a CIS, which he must move forward. And, you know, the inconsistency of moving one important motion forward like a CIS and not this. I personally want an answer to that. And, you know, it is this particular committee that voted down Lava May in Venice, that voted down porta potties on 3rd Street in Venice. You know, when something positive comes out of it, it needs to be uplifted. And this needs to happen as soon as possible. So any way to get past the board, I think is great. Thank you.
Okay.
Lydia.
Yeah, thank you, Margaret. You took the words right out of my mouth. Why can't we put this forward as a community impact statement, especially for all the reasons given in regards to the 2024 passing of this agenda item prior? I'm going to say that we're quick to want to tow everyone in RVs and vans, but are we quick to shelter and provide services for them in inclemental weather, hot or cold? Thank you.
Jerry Pullman.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you guys. You guys are amazing. This has been great, and I really appreciate this committee. And I do, you know, as I kind of mentioned earlier, there is a lot of, you know, law breaking around here these days. And if there's anything that I think should be bent, I think that this is something that we should, you know, find a way to make happen. Thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
So that's the end of public comment.
All right. If we do a CIS, and a CIS doesn't always necessarily have to be attached to an actual city council motion, it can be sent to any commission, we can send it to the Housing and Homelessness Committee as well. But that will require sending it to a board, and the board has to approve that too.
Right, exactly. Cannot do a community impact statement from a committee level.
No. So here is our dilemma. We can rechange it and try and get it into a CIS and have it waste through the board for a couple months because of the slow motion there. Or we can do this and ask for something to get sent right away in 2 weeks and maybe come back next month with a solid motion that's similar, but different. I don't know, with CISs attached, we maybe find other council motions to attach it to, or
Will
and
it be
find the
any
right
more?
commissions and committees to send it to.
Well, my question would be, would it be any more impactful as a CIS over sending it forward as the motion? With
A CIS is incredibly impactful. It is really
No, I
saying
understand
this
that.
is what we
I
want as a
understand that.
community.
I'm saying, do we think that it's going to be more impactful than moving forward with pushing this revisitation of the motion and sending it forward to CD11 with the follow-up to action. Just a
Yeah,
question.
so I'm of the mind, this is just because I kind of feel like time is of the essence, that we should pass something tonight, and then if we need to uh put more pressure with the CIS next month, we can use the committee meeting uh in a couple weeks, or not the committee meet, the council meeting in a couple weeks, to kind of get a sense of where they are concerning this, and then if need be, come back with an impact statement for next month's meeting, especially when we're going to be more into the weather next month.
Right. I do think it's important that we get something done tonight, and we're not going to get a CIS done tonight.
Sorry, I
Sure.
got really excited. I just remembered something. Since this motion was passed, a standing rule was passed that says any action of the board is considered a CIS statement. We do not have to go to the board. So this, we can change our motion to also say, in addition, that a CIS is filed with where we want our CS filed as a direction to the president. We don't have to go back to the board now.
Is that a bylaws rule?
It is
or
a standing rule
standing rule?
because it's not part of the bylaws, but there is a standing rule and Helen dropped it off. Helen is the author of that. But Helen's 3 hours in advance from us. So, but yes, that is a current standing rule. So any action by the board is considered a CIS statement. So we don't have to go back to the board. We don't have to waste the time. We can just add on to our motion where we want a CIS filed. And ultimately, it probably will be Helen that will do it anyway, because Helen's the only one that really files CISs, and she will do that for us.
So what is that process, Lisa? It doesn't go back to the board, so you don't need the letter to, you
No,
don't need
but
the
it
letter
should,
to the
it
city
should be
council.
stated, it should be stated in our motion that a CIS will be filed to where we want to file that CIS, and probably maybe to the Housing and Homelessness Committee of the council.
Well, we list all of those in the original motion.
Ask a question, Naomi.
Yeah.
So can we pass this motion and then say at the end of it, and we will file a CIS?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. That's I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, so you're making an amendment to add that a CIS
CIS,
will
correct.
be filed. Okay.
Does anybody second that?
I'll second that. It's Sarah Mahir.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, got to take public comment again.
Yep. Any discussion on the amendment to the motion? Public comment.
Oh my gosh, everybody has something to say, but they're the public and we are here for the stakeholders. So go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
Hanging in here. Appreciate it. I think
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we hear you.
Procedurally, I don't understand what you're trying to do. If you're passing a motion, who is the motion going to? It's going back to the VNC.
Right.
Or are you just trying to direct the president to instruct him to take a motion that apparently or allegedly was never sent out to be sent out with the amendments? I mean, I'm just not following what you're trying to do.
we're going back to the VNC, Nick.
So this motion's going to the VNC.
No, it's not going to the VNC.
It's
Okay,
not.
where is it going?
The homelessness committee is directing the VNC president to submit a letter of the 2024 motion, and that a CIS be filed as well to the Housing and Homelessness Department.
So the chairperson of this committee is basically asking the president to make sure that
Correct.
the previous motion, do you even need a motion then? If all you're asking is the president to send a letter or communication
Well,
to,
we're not, now we're getting into back and forth, but I am of the opinion, what Margaret said earlier, it's accountability.
well, I'm under
Well-
public comment. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah,
what
well,
you're
you're
trying to do.
asking questions, you're asking for.
Okay, so you
opinions.
guys, let me just say something here. If we're looking for accountability, the accountability is included in the statement of sending the letter along with the motion forward to CD11 within the 14 days with a copy to the chairperson of the homelessness committee. That's the accountability there.
But the motion itself is going to Brian. That's what you're doing. That's the action that you're taking. That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, and
Yes, the committee can do that.
but why are you sending it as a motion if it's already a motion that's been approved? The letter says this motion was approved by the Venice Neighborhood Council, July 16, 2024, and the committee is directing. I'm
Yeah, so it's a committee motion, Naomi, that we're directing we're sending this communication to Brian. So the committee is approving that this direction is being sent to the president of the VNC to do this action.
So the motion is the action for him to send the previous motion to follow through on sending it forward to CD11 and ensuring that. So it's not the motion itself, which has already been approved. It's the action. The motion is to direct the president.
Right, the homelessness committee
We just
passed a
said it as a
motion, and
motion to
the committee now is directing the VNC, as you guys all approved it, the committee is directing the VNC president to convey this approved motion to CD11 and the proper entities to ensure the approved motion, is carried out. Blah, 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 as I read into the record. But anyway, we're having discussion in the middle of public comment.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be, but I think we need to clarify. So let's finish with public comment and I want to get something clarified. So let's move forward. Other public comment.
Margaret?
So I think, as you all know, this is the urgency part is the most important part of it. So get what you can done to get it to Brian and get it out. And then I think having a CIS formally is a really important component, because that's something that the various stakeholder agencies take seriously. More seriously, it's noted on all the public comments for every council file. So I just want to read you, I have forwarded this email to you from December 21st, 2023 from Juan Fragosa in CD11.
You have a minute.
Please note that for the second year now, LAZA has been shifting to the motel voucher process, has not requested the council office to open up additional sites like years past. There is a location in CD11 when the emergency shelters are opened, but that location is not activated through the current augmented winter shelter notice that was released. That's disgraceful. So please.
Your time is up. Thank you.
I hope you use this to leverage it.
Thank you. Let's move on. Next person, please.
Lydia.
I just wanted to say thank you. And we're not asking Brian, we're telling him, we're directing him. Thank you.
Okay, Peggy.
Well, it sounds like he didn't do it. So you're telling him to do what he should have done. So that's what you're doing. And also I put in a link to the LASA flyer about winter shelters in your whatever Q&A thing, because you can't do chat. It is LASA. LASA is part of this, and they call these things that we're asking for pop-ups. As a matter of fact. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else with public comment?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Just real quickly, I gotta point out, I've been operating on my laptop battery. I just got an alert that I'm on low battery, so I probably only have about 5 more minutes to go to get this
Okay,
vote in.
so I'm good to wrap this up and vote.
Okay, so we'll just hold on a second. Sorry, but there's been a lot of back and forth. So we're ready for the vote?
Yes, the first vote is for
Wait
the,
a second. No, we're not. We haven't had board
Okay.
comment. I'm sorry. I know
Okay.
it's gotta go, but
Go
I'm
ahead.
actually confused. I don't know if you are, Dr. Nightingale.
I didn't know that we voted on the letter that was written. Did that vote happen?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So, and so then, what's your question, Ally?
My question is the letter that was written, which I thought I just listened to, I thought we were making a motion to the VNC. We're not? And then also requesting a CIS because we're allowed to, according to Helen. So that's what I would like to do because I'd like to bring this back up to the VNC, like have them, and meanwhile, we can just file the CIS because we're allowed to, and I think we should. But I think that this should go back for everybody to hear about it that comes to our meetings and that's on our board, on the board of the VNC. So I don't think that just sending a letter to Brian is as impactful myself. I think we should do the CIS and bring this motion to the board. That's my feeling, and that's what I thought we were doing. Maybe I misunderstood your letter, Lisa, but I thought that's what your letter said, is that this was a motion going back to the VNC. Am I the only person that thought that?
No, I thought the original motion was to go back to the VNC because it.
That's what I would vote for. That's what I would like.
No, the letter, this is a direction. It says, the homelessness committee passed this motion in July, and the homelessness committee is directing the VNC president to convey this approved motion to CD11 and the proper entities. That's what Ally, you put a motion on for, and that's what we discussed. We're
But I
talking
wanted to go to the
urgency,
VNC board. I don't care about.
Okay, what? Stop. So, point of clarification. Initially, before further discussion, the thought was, as it was originally presented, that this motion, Homelessness Committee 2024 Oakwood Shelter motion, go along with the statement that Patrick wrote here in new business, a motion, that motion, along with the printout here as a copy, would go before the neighborhood council as a motion that had been previously approved, but it says this would be a reaffirmation of that motion. And then we went from there saying, why should it be reaffirmed if we've already passed the motion before? And then subsequent conversations happened after that. So apparently there's still some confusion about what it is that we're really doing and what it is that we really do have to do. Now, Lisa said that because this motion was passed, it doesn't matter that there's new board members or we don't have to redo the motion. I understand that. I agree. But do you want the other committee members on the neighborhood council that are new to the council to understand what this motion is before we move forward with directing the president to move it forward to CD11? And to take the proper, appropriate action for ensuring that shelters for inclement or adverse weather are set up at Oakwood and other community centers such as Penmar, Westminster, and other places. And then say this is however we want to say the language about the CIS being according to standing committees, any motions that are passed by the neighborhood council the standing rule is that it is automatically a CIS or automatically eligible for CIS. So this is what I am clear on. And if that's different from what everybody else is clear on, let's get it straight so that we can get this done.
That's what I was clear on. I agree with it. How about everybody else?
I'm not going to vote for this to go to the neighborhood council because this needs urgency. It needs to move forward and swiftly, and we have the capability to move this forward. Ally, as the chair, can then in her chair report to the neighborhood council at the next board meeting, say, this is what we're doing. You can also print out multiple copies of this letter and our prior motion so that everyone has it for their record. But this is what we are allowed to do. This is what we're capable of doing. And this moves things forward. If we make a motion, that's going to change everything up tonight. And we're going back to square one. And then it's going to go to the neighborhood council, and it's probably going to sit there for a couple months. And we'll be lucky if it gets heard in December.
We can send the CIS anyway.
When we can send a CIS now and get Brian or our president to submit this motion
and the CIS
ASAP, or within 14
motion
days.
to the board.
No, if it goes a motion to the board, it's gonna get pushed. It's gonna get pushed.
Okay, so can we do this? Can we say that at the homelessness committee meeting this evening, the homelessness committee decided to move forward with a motion that was passed last year by the Venice Neighborhood Council, and I do have some feelings about using the word direct the president to do, but I don't know what other word to use. Highly recommend that the president send the motion forward to CD11 to ensure that once something goes to CD11, what is our position of action with CD11 to ensure that they do what they're supposed to do?
Telephone.
Do we have a follow-up, or do we just leave that to them, or would that be the homelessness committee following up with CD11 to
It is
push them? Okay, so then
what about strongly advise? Is that better than
there you go? I like that. Thank you, Sarah. That the homelessness committee strongly advises the president of the neighborhood council to forward this approved motion to CD11 to ensure that the rest of what you said, Lisa, and the rest of that letter, and that a copy of the motion, a copy of this action.
I'm going to disagree with strongly advised, because then that puts it on him. There's no accountability.
But the accountability comes with
a choice on his part.
But the accountability.
Advise, you're just advising him.
Okay, Lisa, but if we say that the letter should be submitted within the next 14 days.
Well, why don't we just use the words? Why we're the committee is asking him to submit this letter. That's a nicer way of saying it, instead of we're directing you to do it. We're asking you to submit, because that is his job. It is in the bylaws as something that he does.
Okay, we can use the word asking. I don't care. I prefer that to directing the president.
Okay.
But asking, and then everything else is as it was, as we wrote it, with the copy, with forwarding the letter to the CD11 for appropriate action for implementing shelters for whatever the rest of it that is that we said, I don't remember, with a copy of the letter being sent to the chairperson of the homelessness committee within the next 14 days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ally, does that
So it won't go in front of the VNC?
Not for approval.
Okay.
The VNC can receive the letter as a letter of information of actions that were taken by
I think it's too bad myself. I think it's great for this to go into for the public to hear it. But if nobody else wants to, I'm just a one person.
What I'm saying that is it appropriate or does it happen that committees send action items to the board for inclusion in the record as actions that they have chosen to take as a committee? It's already been approved by the VNC. So this is an action subsequent to that approval.
Mhm.
And
yeah. Are you sure about that?
Am I sure about what? That the neighborhood council
The
voted to
chair
approve it?
can announce in her chair report with committee reports that this action was taken, and it is uploaded as a supporting document to the board record, to the next board agenda.
And Tima Bell, as secretary, would have a copy of the letter.
How is he continuing to unmute himself?
I don't know, but he's muted right there. But the point is this: we're not going to have any more conversation about public comment. But the point is that it has been. Lisa found it in her documentation that the motion was approved by the neighborhood council July 16th. So we can say that. Pardon me?
It definitely was, yeah.
Yeah, so we can move forward with that language. That as a result of this motion having been approved, July 16, 2024, the Homelessness Committee asked the president of the Neighborhood Council to forward this motion along with to CD11 with request to take the appropriate action to ensure that shelters are provided at the Oakwood, be specific about the other facilities, Penmar, Westminster, and wherever, to ensure that the shelters are in fact put in place in a timely way to provide shelter for homelessness people for the 2026 year. Is that good? Are we all in favor? Are we going to vote now?
Yes.
We've already had public.
We've got a couple votes that need to be taken. First was the amendment.
For the amendments, yeah.
Okay, so the first was saying that we're going to do a CIS.
Okay.
So Ally already made the motion, Sarah made the second. We need that vote.
So state the motion again, Lisa.
Well, this is just the amendment to the original.
I mean, the amendment,
motion.
not the motion, the amendment. State the amendment again.
The amendment is to a CIS will be sent to the homelessness, and of the original motion will be sent to the Homelessness and Housing Committee.
Okay.
Or Housing and Homelessness Committee.
Yes.
Me.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment? I mean, the motion.
Wait, of the motion or the amendment?
The amendment was the CIS, right? Was amendment?
The amendment to that motion was adding the CIS.
Right. So all in favor?
How do we do this? Do we go by
voice vote, or anybody opposed? Any abstain? Okay.
Unanimous?
So it's 5-0. 0.
5-0. Okay. So now we're voting on
the entire motion.
The entire motion.
Which the committee motion to send to ask.
Lisa, I'm just taking notes. Is the amendment to send the CIS only to the City Homelessness Committee or to everybody? See, CD11, mayor, everybody?
No, we don't send, you can't send CISs to individuals. You can send them to commissions. You can send them.
So what, I'm just writing the minutes. So who are you?
I believe it is
or maybe you can send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just so I can put it in the minutes. Thank you. Okay.
I'm gonna have to rewrite this tomorrow because you guys
Okay,
can't
yeah.
read my notes.
Sure. And then, so now do
So
we
now
make,
we have to vote on the whole motion, right?
Yes, a
Yes.
committee motion.
The whole committee motion. Okay,
this
as,
motion is not going to be heard by the Venice Neighborhood Council. It's only a motion that's going to ask the president.
This is a committee motion that's asking the president.
And so
to
it's not going to go before the
send.
council.
No,
no,
it is
it
not.
doesn't go before the council for approval.
That's all right.
It's a motion to the president, so
Okay, so
with the language that we
make
just,
the motion.
the motion, the language that we just crafted out that Lisa wrote out.
Okay. And
That
do we
I've read
make
many
that
times.
motion or just go forward with the vote?
Let's go forward with the vote because she read it like 1,000 times already.
968.
So all in favor of the motion of the letter that will go to President Brian Averill, we will use the word asking,
Asking.
instead of demanding. Okay?
Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Voice vote with aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed?
Any abstains?
Any abstains? No. Okay.
That's 5-0.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we lost Pat.
Yeah.
Thank you all for
Okay.
hanging and all of you in the Zoom public. Thank you.
Do you guys serve wine after the meetings here or?
It's
Right.
virtual, but it's really good. And I'm telling you, wine after COVID.
Okay, so, all right, are we good? We're done?
Good. Bless your heart.
Okay,
Thank you
so is the next meeting set up or you do that later?
The next meeting we're hoping is going to be again the last Monday of November with St. Joseph's. But I will keep everybody posted
Yes.
because hopefully that's still happening. I don't know. We just have to make sure, they said that it would, but we'll see.
And so then how do we follow up with some of the things that we heard this evening from Johanna? Do we do it as a total committee or do we break the committee out into certain areas of follow-up or how do we usually do that?
I'm confused, Lisa, as what we're legally allowed to do Brown Act wise in terms of follow-up. Like, I think it would be fantastic since we can just to make motions to maybe start interviewing other service providers to see what they think of serving Spa 5, like people concern, but I don't know how to do that.
That's not our job.
Huh?
We can't do that. That's not our job.
It is our job to, yes, we absolutely can invite them to this
interview.
We can.
We can't interview people. We're not the ones that are going to hire them. There's no RFP right now out for another service provider for the Spa 5.
We can speak.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you and we can agree to disagree, but I'm just going to urge that we stick with the last Monday and whether St. Joseph makes it or not, we keep up and then maybe we discuss what happened tonight. We bring up some of those other things that were discussed last month where you took copious notes of ideas. Maybe other people might write motions in the next month. We need just to keep going. And I am of the opinion that we don't always have to have a speaker at every other meeting.
Right. You can talk about issues ongoing. But what you can do, Allie, is once the county decides what they're going to do in terms of providers or others that to replace LAHSA or some aspects of what LAHSA does, you can ask to sit on the committees that they have to interview people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're done?
I think we are.
We can follow up to make sure that Brian sent the letter forward, put that on the agenda.
Yeah, well, then we'll see when we say the 14 days. If Allie doesn't have a copy of the letter, that's when there's
I'm going to have to type that up. So,
you'll put the
14
current
days
date
from the day that
that she gets it. And then Allie will be receiving or not, and then we'll know how to follow up with it from there.
Yeah.
We're good?
Can I say, is Lydia still on here by any chance?
I think so.
Yeah, I see her. I mean, I see her
Well,
thing.
because She mentioned that no one's doing anything in Venice for food drives, but I actually received an email today about fooddrivela.com.
So did I.
Okay, and so people I've already have a bag ready to put on my porch for Saturday.
Okay,
So
who's picking it up? Is it the USPS?
well, yeah, if you do
Drive
food,
LA.
just type in fooddrivela.com, and there's like a little
all over Venice.
yeah, there's like a sign up sheet, so you
Okay,
can
you
just.
guys.
I'll forward it to you, Lydia.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I can. I have Lydia's phone
Oh,
number.
thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. Good to hear. Good
Thank
to
you,
hear.
guys.
Good night.
Thank you so much, Dr. Knight.
Good night.
Yeoman's
Yeah,
job. I'm deeply grateful. Thank you so much. I
it
could
was fun.
not have done that.
Well
Thank
done,
you, guys.
y'all. Good night.
Good night. Bye, Margaret. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers for
Bye,
your brother.
Maddie. Mm,
We'll be keeping your
Good
brother.
night. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. All right. Good night.